Yes.
Yes.
Well, who the hell are you? Massive echo.
Stop following me here!
What are you doing? What are you trying to do to me? Trying to sleep. Do you ever leave me alone by day or by night? Stop it! No. Get off! Cut off your beard!
We got your number, Kappa.
Good day!
I would like to see.
I've seen Lord of the Rings, you know, like Saruman in his tower, and he's like stalked by the paparazzi. That's what it was about. You know, the White Tower.
Really, you think so?
But yeah, being stalked by the worldwide press.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, not literally, but metaphorically it works. He's like, why don't you guys leave me alone by day or by night? You know.
I'm not so sure you can make that statement because Tolkien himself made the statement that he despised allegory, and nothing in any of the books that he wrote were supposed to be taken in any way, shape, or form as a metaphor for anything whatsoever. It was purely just to tell a story.
Yeah, he's lying.
Well, his son Christopher Tolkien has spent quite an awful lot of time compiling his notes and his thought process and everything about his books and put them together. And it's refreshing as a writer to be able to read the notation process and the development process of another writer and realize.
You think you're a writer now? Okay. Yeah.
Thank you. I appreciate that very much. Very kind of you.
Yeah, I know, but you can still use stories as metaphors. It doesn't matter.
Sure, it's like the Sauron was the metaphor for the Nazis, and it's a metaphor for nuclear weapons.
That's it. It's just how the artistic process works. Nothing exists totally independent of anything else. Everything's got a relation to something else as part of creationism or whatever.
Sure.
Rather than creation, you know.
Sure.
Creation just like bursts out creator or creators, but creationism is when you're creating new things like a fusion, hybridization. There's another word I can think of. I can't quite remember it next. Yeah, but where you mix like things together, like dolphins and humans. I'll remember it eventually.
That's fine. But I mean, then when you take a look at the structure of his timeline of writing, and you realize that the idea of Sauron existed as far back as 1932, and the Unruling Ring existed as far back as like 1937, and you start, well, they can't really be metaphors for. The books can't really be a metaphor for World War II because
no, there's too much to it. I know what you're saying. Yeah.
Way before World War II ever happened. So. Whatever. We could sit and argue it for hours.
But he's only going to have to say a definite statement to stop people speculating and stuff and dismissing it as well. But yeah, obviously he wasn't writing about the Second World War. He was just writing about all sorts of different stuff. There's a lot of like Norse mythology in those books.
Sure. Definitely an awful lot of old English language in it too.
Yeah. Right, he wasn't a very good writer though, I don't think.
I think he was brilliant, but the man was a professor of English language and literature at Oxford. What do you expect? If he couldn't write, he had teaching, right?
I couldn't stand all the poetry though, it just bored me. Where's Lenny? he died.
I don't care about the lay of Baron and Lucienne. Just make it stop.
Yeah, just give me the story. I don't want to hear bloody stories about songs with like hobbits basically being gay. You know, we like to dance and prance all day. And, Miss Hasfus, which is what you did, is going to have a wedding in 6 months' time. Let's party. So, no way.
Really?
I'm Yeah, she is, and you know, she's getting married to old
Let's have
Dusty.
a party, shall we?
Let's all get our horrible, hairy, smelly feet out. Athlete's foot around, folks. I'm more like a wet ring wraith, I think, as compared to a ring wraith when I was growing up. Yeah, get you hobbits. Yes, you Frodo. He says, like, why would I be in service of somebody's ring? How disgusting can you be?
It's a warm, wet circle, man. It's a warm, wet circle.
But they kiss the Pope's ring. So you can equally say he's like the Black Pope or something. Sauron's Black Poper.
I think, we should organize a church around that.
But it's fun doing metaphors and stuff, analogies and stuff to stories. I know what he's saying. He's saying he had the idea when he came to him, it was pure. But, it's just the way things work.
Well, actually, if you really understand his whole process, his real major focus was the Silmarillion. His mythology is everything else. And he wrote The Hobbit as a children's story. And it just happened to wind up getting published because he'd sent it off to his publisher just as a lark. And his publisher had given it to his nephew, who was like 9 years old, to read and had him write a book report on it. And his nephew at 9 loved it, and so they went ahead and published it. And then a number of years later, the publisher came back to Tolkien and said, "So, you going to write a sequel to The Hobbit?" Tolkien goes, "I had never really thought about writing a sequel to The Hobbit. It was supposed to be a standalone story all by itself." And invited by his publisher to write a sequel, and that's, the number of revisions that happened to even the first 5-6 chapters of the first book, Fellowship of the Ring. They went through 15-20 different revisions in the first on the stuff. He had no intention of tying all of his stuff together into one big thing until 1958, 1959. That he started realizing that it all clicked and fit, and his mythologies that he started working on when he was in the trenches of World War I in 1917 were part of this whole big, huge, elaborate scheme that he put together. And people think he sat down and wrote everything chronologically out.
No.
He was far more developed involved in that.
He must have been a real mess head.
Had to have been. Well, he and C.S. Lewis were great friends and part of the same literary group.
There was a documentary on them.
Yeah.
BBC recently. Yeah, I downloaded it the other day. It was pretty good. Yeah.
Because I'm a big C.S. Lewis fan as well. I think, and I don't mean just his Narnia series, his Christian apologetic series, his philosophies.
Is that the trilogy? The trilogy's good.
He wrote The Lion, the Witch, and the Robe.
Yeah. I've read that series. Out of the Silent Planet, that's good.
Yep.
Is it Malacandra is the second one, I think, and then the third one's That Hideous Strength. I like That Hideous Strength the best, probably. But they're all good. That was about That Hideous Strength was about the rise of Satanism in Cambridge. Cambridge, not Oxford.
Is there a difference?
Oh, you don't know about the difference between Oxford and Cambridge? It's basically.
I'm American. We have no idea that Cambridge and Oxford don't sit right next door to each other.
They're not that far apart.
The first thing Americans think is you must live in London.
Yeah. You haven't seen what's it called? I can't remember what it's called. It was a famous thing about this race that they always did between Oxford and Cambridge. I don't know, it was connected with the Olympics. Anyhow, Oxford and Cambridge have always been competing against each other since whenever. And so if Tolkien was at Oxford, and if C.S. Lewis was also in Oxford, then obviously they say Satanism was rife in Cambridge. Disgusting place. But basically, I visited closer to Oxford, and I was went to school in Oxfordshire.
Gotcha.
I've got it. Chariots of Fire is a movie.
Oh, okay.
That was quite a big movie for the English, the UK film industry.
That movie came out, what, 77?
Yeah, it's quite old. It wasn't very good, I couldn't stand it.
I don't think I ever actually watched that whole movie all the way through. If I did, I couldn't have been more than like 5 minutes at a time. So.
Yeah.
Like, it wouldn't have had any meaning to me like it would now. Do you remember that they still play the theme song of Chariots of Fire on some of the slower, soft rock radio stations? So. That's America's only attachment to anything British is music, I guess.
Yeah.
Even that we try to claim as our own. The Beatles came from Britain, but they didn't mean anything until they came to America.
Alright.
You know. Just typical American arrogance. Well, I guess I'm going to go ahead and do a quick introduction here, just in case anyone decides they're going to sit and download this archive. You are listening to American Freeman on the Freeman Radio Network. I'm your host, Don of the Family Perry. With me is the incredible Maggot, the indestructible Evstratios, and hopefully here, if we can connect with him, the incredulous Caribbean Critic. We always welcome your phone calls, we always welcome your insights, we always want to know what you're thinking today. So the rise of Satanism at Cambridge, huh?
Yeah, and Oxford.
Right.
Because if you can't figure out the connection between Oxford and Satan himself, and well, I suppose Satan can appear in any form, but you know, like a giant ox, herd of oxes crossing a ford,
Right.
crossing running waters. Yeah. That's how I remember it as. Anyway, it was in Cambridge.
Huh. I'll have to keep that in mind. I guess I'll have to go and recheck out Chariots of Fire and see if I can.
Oh no, you fall asleep. It's Perilandra is the second book, not Manacandra.
Gotcha.
The series. Okay. That Hideous Strength. The story is set in England of the mid-1940s, vaguely after the war, in the small university town of Edgestowe, centred around a young university don Mark Studdock, a fellow of Bragton College at the fictional University of Edgestowe, and his wife Jane Nay Tudor, I think known as Tudor or something, near Tudor, who is working on a graduate degree in poetry. Yeah, so it was Edgestowe, but apparently it's all about Cambridge and how disgusting it is. Oh, macrobes are in this as well. The National Institute of Coordinated Experiments, NICE, NICE, a scientific and social planning agency, first specifically pursues its programme of the exploitation of nature and the annihilation of humanity. Yeah, definitely Cambridge. The Institute is secretly inspired and directed by a fallen El Dilla, whom they refer to as macrobes, superior beings. Their takeover of Edgestowe and its surrounding area is a case in point of the manner in which they use human pride and greed to get what they want. Once the NICE had achieved its ends, the Earth would belong exclusively to the macrobes. Set against the NICE's operations is a small resistant group led by Dr. Elwin Ransom, who followed his journeys to Mars and Venus, is now directed by the good El Dilla there. Who following his journeys, as well as those of Mercury, Saturn and Jupiter. These El Dilla, previously blocked from accessing Earth, the silent planet, are now unhindered, as that silence had first been breached by Western Divine when they left the Earth to travel to Malacandra, Mars, and out of the silent planet. Ransom's group consists of humans and animals living in unity and harmony, in stark contrast to the division and political manoeuvrings within the NICE.
Gotcha.
There you go. I forgot it was about the macrobes.
Wow.
I didn't know they were popularised in fiction.
I didn't know either. I usually eat them when I go to vegetarian restaurants.
Yeah, that's microbes.
Oh, not macrobiotics?
Yeah, you can, I think macrobiotics, I'll have a look at it.
Macrobes.
Well, I suppose you could eat part of the macrobes, I suppose, part of your macrobiotic diet.
I see. Well, nice to know that there are superior beings out there that live in harmony with their planet, and, as opposed to all the rest of us.
Macrobe just means large, really. It says a macrobiotic diet, or macrobiotics from the Greek macro, large, and bios, life. So macro means large. So macro B, I suppose, just means large being large. So yeah, you're eating like large, whatever.
So a macrobiotic diet would be like ripping off the leg of a cow as it runs by and gnawing.
Yeah, or a herd of cows, I suppose. A macrobial diet. It'd be macrobial diet. Yeah, you're like feasting on a herd of cattle all at the same time.
Well, that was a appetizer.
Yeah.
What's for you?
If you imagine like a virus or a disease, how they spread, then that's like macrobial infection from the microbe. You know, it's on the larger scale. They got two parts of them. They got the microcosmic and the macrocosmic section to them. You know, like the other day I did that thing about the electron microscope, the animals you see in them.
Right.
That's microbial life forms, but they're on the macrobial scale. They could just be the same as that, but absolutely huge. And that's really weird about these life forms. They're so small that are not even affected by gravity. You know, because it's electron microscope. The size of like a few molecules or electrons, and so why are they like putting all these bizarre shapes on? You know, because they have all these weird shapes to them, and they're obviously too small to have a brain. So they're basically a mouth and stomach. And so, like, who are they feeding for? You know, they're obviously not feeding for themselves because they've got no brain. Right. I mean, it could just be mindless eaters, but personally, I think they're connected to the macrobes because everything is connected on a smaller scale and a larger scale. I mean, like human beings, or like you're not just like an oxygen molecule and a I don't know, nitrogen molecule or an amino acid. You know, you're like hundreds of millions of them all joined together.
Right.
So yeah, I mean it's sort of like I'm saying it's like conjectural theory, but it's just really facts. I mean, there's no way that these things could be coincidental. You know, where would they be anything else apart from like unicellular organisms? You know, if you look at the normal microscope, you get like the big splodge, don't you, like the amoeba. But then if you zoom in onto the amoeba, you get this like you get all the weird, wacky life forms that look like Geiger aliens and Japanese horror pictures from science fiction. You know, like in the game R-Type.
Right. Well, yeah. I mean, where do you think they got the reference for all of those creatures? All subcellular and like, ooh, look at that crazy, weird out whack thing. Let's make that huge and give it poison teeth and a tongue.
Exactly. Yeah. But they've been doing that. I mean, I've been drawing pictures like that since before electron microscopes, so I've even seen pictures from electron microscopes. So there's more to it than that. There's communication going on. And the way they do communicate is through any sort of like state of health, but particularly when you're ill and stuff. I mean, there's a lot of associations between like like visions and stuff like that and being physically ill. And even like drinking alcohol, that's poisoning yourself.
Well, yeah. Like psilocybin mushrooms, it's really nothing more than a poison except produced into your system. You ever take acid? The way that it gets into you is the strychnine, the poison that's in it that breaks down the amino acids that allows the lysergic acid to actually get absorbed into your body system. So
yeah,
poisoning's a huge part of all kinds of that stuff. Definitely. But it's been a long time since I've done any of those things. A real long time.
Yeah.
It's been at least 12 hours. Well, we've got an exciting show lined up for you today, folks. Maggot and I are going to be discussing micro and macrobiology all day long, I guess. We're having Lenny apparently is in some physical pain, so laying low and sleeping, presumably vicious on his side of the bed. Can't get a hold of CC for some reason. Suppose we can read some news stories here. There's some fun stuff out there, if there is any fun stuff out there. Barry Soetoro was on our news program last evening here in the United States, spoke for about 15 minutes. I, of course, did my good part is a Freeman on the land. To watch the television, so kind of hard for me to comment on anything he said. However, I came across this nice little article. Psycho Talk. MSNBC Schultz calls for Obama to act like a dictator.
We haven't got any live stream going at the moment, have we? Either.
None
Sucks. Yeah, I got somebody. I can't get her to listen to the show because we've got no show live, and I'm not going to bother typing that message.
Well, we've got to find a new server and get ourselves back up and out there so we're broadcasting live. But that's not my department. That's not my forte. That's not my grand strength.
Yeah.
But we need to get back out there on a live stream and a live broadcast so people can access us so that we're not just sitting here sounding like a bunch of fools.
Well, yeah, it does sound like that, but yeah, I know what you mean. It just sounds, it's a bit ridiculous when you're like doing stuff and there's no audience.
Right.
You know, it's just crazy. We were reading like yesterday's news and stuff, you know, by the time people get it, it's be yesterday's.
Right.
Never mind. It won't be that far out.
Well, hopefully, depending on how quickly the archives are getting posted and everything.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's always so much better when we at least, even if we don't have a live audience, just knowing that we are broadcasting live makes you feel.
Well, that's it. Yeah. But that's all the random factor.
So, hey, you know, we are broadcasting live, Maggot. Yeah, that's the ticket. We're broadcasting live, and we're being listened to by my fiance, Morgan Fairchild. Yeah, that's.
I mean, the only way I could get her to hear what we're saying is like actually join in on the conversation, but she don't want to talk, and she don't even have a mic.
Tragic.
I know.
Tragic. So, my question is, since it's just you and me, and Lenny's just sitting there, and we aren't processing a live feed, and you've got no one else to talk to, and nothing else, is there a point to doing the show today?
Fuck knows. I end up like being a really quick show. I've got brain distorts own body image. It's a BBC article.
Sounds interesting.
1 second. She says it's very noisy here. Okay, whatever. The brain naturally distorts body image, a finding which could explain eating disorders like anorexia, say the experts. Scientists at University College London discover people tend to think that their hands are wider and their fingers are shorter than they truly are. Okay. Because they say the confusion may lie in the way the brain receives information from different parts of the body. Distorted perception may dominate in some people, leading to body image problems, a US journal reports. The lead researcher, Dr. Matthew Longo, said, "These findings may well be relevant to psychiatric conditions in body language such as anorexia nervosa, as there may be a general bias towards perceiving the body to be wider than it is. Our results show dramatic distortions of hand shape, which are just highly consistent across participants."
I wonder if you could use your ability to distort your body image in your brain to screw with the full body scanners at the airport.
Yeah, it's just it's the things you've got to be worried about. Is your size of your hands and your fingers.
Right.
Oh, I'm terrified. Well, I have said I thought I had massive hands a few times, but so what?
I have had moments in which I have smoked a little too much ganja.
Yeah.
And gotten in my car and been driving down the road, and my hands feel like child's hands, with the gigantic palms and the short, fat, round fingers. But at least that was under the influence of something. I mean, the people that would have that kind of distortion of perception when they're sober, that might be a real serious problem.
How do I add somebody to the call? How do I add somebody?
You got to talk to Lenny about that. It's his deal. It's his call because he's the host. Lenny, are you awake?
Yeah, he'll be a call.
Oh, I've got to add people on American Freeman. Can I do that?
Yeah. Just throw them in there.
Listen.
In the chat room, yeah.
Yeah. So that means she can listen in.
Do it.
So
Add someone to call.
Yeah, yeah.
It actually,
No,
Got
listen out.
Romery on there.
What?
Got Romery on the list now, so if you add her to the call.
Just type the name in the room and I'll do it.
Oh yeah, it should be on the list now. Oh yeah, I'm on the wrong thing. Yeah.
any new developments in your ongoing saga there today, Lenny? Gigantic, no.
Is that you calling up? I don't know how that works, it just wants to listen in.
She's not going to be able to listen in at all without actually being added to the call here. Now, she doesn't have a microphone, so it's not like you can ask her questions and have her answer. But
Yeah, but she doesn't have a mic, but she can still listen in, can't she? You still type.
Yeah.
speakers. And of course, she can always. That's supposing that she's actually going to answer her.
Yeah, she answered. She's on.
She says that Lenny Bruce, and I go yes.
Yeah, I'm the dead one. 1966.
The dead one, huh?
Yeah, I can't wait till the big expose about me. You know that I'm really back from the dead, and I've been alive all this time, and
Yeah.
I'm Jewish too. You know, I mean, surprise! And my real name is Leonard Alfred Schneider. You know,
Schneider.
people have no references whatsoever, and they really honestly think that like Lenny Bruce is a real guy. I mean,
Yeah.
he's a comedian from the '60s. Wake up.
Was it the 60s? I thought it was a little further back than that.
Well, really, the '50s and the '60s. That's when he was big.
I always associate Lenny Bruce with like 1957, 1958.
Right. He
was
was
his,
big through '66 when he died.
Okay.
They made it so he couldn't work.
Right.
She says you guys way over my head.
Nonsense. We're right on the level of everyone's head.
Well, we did talk a bit first. I just need to know. Yeah, somebody's banging on the door. I have to answer it. He's an idiot.
Yeah, people insist on calling in the middle of the show. My mother just called.
Really?
Yeah. I fixed the problem.
No, it's alright. Somebody else is going to answer it.
You're right. Servant Jeeves is going to answer the door.
Yeah, one of my slaves is going to do it.
Which slaves?
I don't know. It might be a GCH clueless slave. Okay. Continue the article. Brain distorts own body image. Continuing. Lead researcher Dr. Matthew Longo said, these findings may well be relevant to psychiatric conditions involving body image such as anorexia nervosa. So may be a general bias towards perceiving the body to be wider than it is. I'm repeating myself on that one. Our results show dramatic distortions of hand shape, which are highly consistent across participants. In the study, in Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences, Dr. Longo's team asked 18 volunteers to take part in an experiment. The volunteers were asked to put their left hands palm down under a board and judge the location of the covered hands, knuckles and fingertips with a pointer. This revealed striking distortions. The volunteers tended to misjudge their hands as wider and their fingers as shorter than they actually were. The researchers say the distortions are subconscious and involve the ability known as position sense that the brain uses to know where all parts of the body are in space even when the eyes are closed. Sort of boring, but kind of interesting.
I would consider any study like this because knowing where the funding comes from and why they do these studies and that they only want certain results.
Yeah,
you know.
yeah.
I
Of all the
mean,
places,
it's so wrong.
Yeah. All the body parts you'd be worried about is the size of your hands. Come on.
And one more body part.
I know. Well, yeah, I mean, they did have glass tables and then everybody refused to have that part of it measured.
Really, if you have a grip on that other body part, you're all right.
As long as it fits, you're okay.
Yeah.
it's not too tight, is it?
Well,
Okay.
as long as your hands are smaller than that other body part, you're pretty much okay. If they,
Yeah, I guess. Yeah. Well, yeah. If you
I
ha-
don't know
if
why
you
you're
pump-
obsessed with your nose, but if that's what you know, okay.
Yeah, Barbara. Streisand.
we're all talking about the same thing here.
Yeah.
Obviously, I was talking about feet.
Shove it nose.
Feet, right?
Yeah.
They were like,
Okay, I got another one that's quite funny. Well, maybe not, I don't know. Messianic Jew renounces Israeli citizenship. Da, da, da. This is Henry Macau. Note, Michael Korn sent this letter to every Israeli consulate in the US and to every member of the Knesset. By Michael Korn. To the Israeli consulate in Atlanta, I am writing to explain why I want to renounce Israeli citizenship. When I originally moved to Israel in 1982, I told my mother that I would either live as a Jew in a Jewish land or return to America and convert to Christianity. I didn't know you could actually renounce your citizenship to Israel.
you can renounce your citizenship to almost anything, can't you?
I guess so, yeah. They'd only give them something more to complain about, wouldn't they? All the Jews start complaining, saying, oh, we got trapped. I moved to Israel and joined the Choza B'Tzuva movement and lived as a Charedi Orthodox Jew from 1983 to 1999. In 1985, officially made Aliyah and attained Israeli citizenship. In the year 2000, I was converted to Christianity through the help of South African missionaries. I met in Israel. I was baptized in a natural spring outside Zvat on June 20th, 2000. Goes on and on. Just looking for some really interesting stuff. Oh, I almost on the end of the thing. Now the latest outrageous Israeli attack against a humanitarian aid worker in the Gaza flotilla has catalyzed my final decision to renounce Israeli citizenship. I realize that I no longer can identify with the values of Zionism. Instead, I embrace a gentle and hopeful vision of Jesus Christ, who created the one new man in Christ, the one world order in Christ, encompassing both Jew and Gentile, including people of every race, creed and tongue in what he taught is the new Israel of God. I believe that the Zionist state of Israel not only contradicts this messianic vision of Jesus Christ, the Jewish Messiah known in Hebrew as Yeshua HaMashiach, there's some Hebrew word that means, translated means Adolf Hitler, but it represents a sinister step backwards in the general struggle of all humanity to rise above petty tribalism and primitive savagery to a more humane and godly ways of both belief and behaviour. I also have been inspired by the examples of Gilad Atzmon, whose article below is a searing indictment of all that is wrong with contemporary Israeli society, Reuven Chosen, whose writings about the depredations of Israel are shocking, and Abigail Arba-Benel, who renounced Israeli citizenship in 2001. There you go. That was the most exciting bit. So we ran on and on and on and on. You got his whole life story in this.
It would seem so.
Can I renounce all Israeli citizens?
Yeah.
I'm not a citizen of that, but I just want to renounce them totally.
Well,
What's the news from the Western Front?
They're in the trenches. They're preparing for another assault.
Well, I've just got back in from town, so I'm going to be a few minutes more. Yeah, I'm making a drink before I join up.
Okay.
Okay.
oh, really? You're making enough for everyone?
Pardon?
Are you making enough for everyone? I like my rum with the shaved ice,
Let
a
it
little bit
go.
of coconut, and pineapple.
Ridiculous.
Oh, I could do that for you.
Excellent. Just go ahead and send it to Don of the Family Perry, care of Habitation. I get it in like 3 weeks.
I'll send it FedEx.
Oh, all right, I'll have it by tomorrow then. That'll be great. I miss my. So yes, Psycho Talk. MSNBC Schultz calls for Obama to act like a dictator twice.
Yeah. Act like a dictator.
The ice melts on those overnight, deliveries.
Yeah.
That's the suck part,
Everyone should be thankful that MSNBC has hired the outspoken, angry critics and has managed to keep them out of circles of power in government. Ha ha ha. Case in point, MSNBC's Ed Schultz, who was considering a run for the North Dakota's open Senate seat, which is being vacated by Democrat Senator Byron Dorgan, gave his thoughts on how President Barack Obama should handle embattled oil giant BP as he addressed the nation about the Gulf Coast oil spill. Which, just real briefly here, were you all aware that BP is the actual official commercial legal name of the company now? They changed it from British Petroleum to BP like a year and a half ago.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess I don't understand why you would change it from British Petroleum to BP. We all knew it was BP and all still referred to it as British Petroleum, but if you call it British Petroleum now, they get mad at you because, oh, that's not our name. So, quote, "That's really what we want to know tonight, Mr. President. Can you stand up to BP?" Schultz said on the June 15th program. BP has vast oil reserves and a big bank account, but getting money out of these guys is like getting blood out of a rock. Look at all of these different incidents they've been involved with and have been able to weasel out of it legally in the past with minimal price paid. Earlier in the day, Schultz had made a similar call, but he was more animated as he explained he wanted to see the administration follow through with its, quote, boot on the neck, end quote, response, and called for Obama to kind of act like a dictator.
Instead of just a dick.
Yeah, right, exactly. Quote, "Mr. President, I want to see the boot on the neck of BP tonight. I want to see some finger pointing, whether it's in your personality or not, and it's okay tonight to act kind of like a dictator and call the shots."
What?
Saying, this is the way it's going to be.
Was this Oberman?
No, this is Ed Schultz from MSNBC.
Okay.
It's time for the President of the United States to lay it out there in full force for the citizens of the United States and make it very clear that BP is going to make us whole again and whole for a long time. Don't you think this is a moment where President Obama has to make sure that he lets everybody know that he's calling the shots and almost in words of maybe a dictator, that this is the way we're going to do it? That's great.
Whenever I hear that he's the president, I reject that. So,
well, I mean, we all automatically reject the idea.
He's not the president. So,
I mean, to call, look, Mr. President.
No, he's not the president.
Look, Mr. He who is acting as president. We need you to be a dictator.
Oh, that's the last thing we need. We don't need that at all.
Right, and this is MSNBC, which is supposed to be your more liberal of your news broadcasts.
From the Stalinist perspective, I see.
Right.
To get away from that awful Trotskyite. Yeah, I see.
Right, exactly. God forbid.
Yeah, I mean the one form of communism versus the other form of communism. I see where there's a conflict. You know.
One's so much better than the other, isn't it?
As long as it's communism.
Right. It's all fine and good.
Because you know Stalinism is so much better.
Well, it is.
Of course.
I mean, Stalin, such a...
What a sweetheart that guy was, huh?
Oh, wow. Between Stalin and Lenin?
No, between Stalin and Trotsky.
Who did Lenin follow? Stalin, right?
They're very similar. There's no difference. That's my point is that there's virtually no difference. I mean,
it was Trotsky, Lenin, Stalin, I think, or maybe no, yeah, it was Marx, wasn't it originally?
Marx wasn't active.
Yeah.
All Marx did was just codify things Jews wanted to.
Yeah.
Didn't he write the Communist Manifesto though?
Well,
Das Kapital.
He got credit for it.
Yeah.
He was a bitter racist psycho.
The library in London.
Yeah. Animal Farm's good though.
That was George Orwell, wasn't it?
Yeah, George Orwell.
Yeah, same guy who wrote 1984. Even the cartoon of it is good.
I haven't seen the cartoon of it. I'll have to watch it.
Yeah.
You never seen the cartoon for Animal Farm?
No,
There's
It's pretty good.
I haven't even read the book Animal Farm.
you haven't?
They make you read it.
Yeah,
What
I
school did you
had
go
to read it at school, but it was good. I liked it.
I was made to read Brave New World.
Brave new world. It's a brave new world. And we're in McDonald's. Everybody get up and sing. Oh yeah!
But no, I never went to any school that made me read Animal Farm. I mean,
That's a good book. It's quite well written as well.
Well, again, it's George Orwell.
Yeah, yeah.
But that's, I mean, Animal Farm's a story of all the animals on the farm. They're basically the workers who rise up against the farmer.
Who represents the system? Yeah, yeah.
And then the whole thing falls apart, and all the animals realize that the whole system fails and collapses once they're in charge.
The pigs take over the animal farm. Basically, they were sort of like in the background before, but then they sort of like come to the foreground, saying we're the organisers, and you can't really do anything unless it's with our say so. They change the rules. They write up some rules on the barn door or something, and one of the rules is all animals are created equal, which I think is a reference to the American Constitution or something. All men are created equal under the eyes of God. That's it. Declaration of Independence. And the pigs add, but some are more equal than others.
Maybe Lenny should send a copy of that book off to all of the other admins on the WFF.
All animals are created equal, but some are more equal than others. Is that quote? Yeah.
We're going to craft my notice.
Pardon?
I have to work on my notice.
Yeah. I look forward to...
Which notice is this notice, Lenny?
To the WFS.
What's happened with your notice to the...
We're waiting 7 days.
Oh, no, I thought they were supposed to be throwing you out today.
Oh, no.
They gave you 3 days to get out, didn't they?
Well, it wasn't even a legal thing.
Which means they should have been tossed on Monday.
Right?
That would have been 3 days, right?
But they failed to do it in any sort of legal way.
Right.
So, and I'll be getting my default judgment here in I think 6 days, 5 days.
So by like next week, Monday.
Yeah.
Fine as far as I'm concerned. Obviously, if they really meant they could kick you out, if they really had legal standing, somebody would have been there Monday morning.
Right.
With the police officers. That's it. You're coming to discuss this.
Right, they're all dead serious. Where are they?
Yeah, exactly. County hasn't been back. Have they even made any phone calls?
No, they haven't said a word. So obviously this Freeman stuff is bogus and doesn't work. Well, I guess it is working. It's apparently working extremely well.
Right?
Yeah.
Working too well for the admins to cope with.
Well, it's a good thing that Iconoclast came on and had that opportunity to debunk the Freeman method.
Yeah. It doesn't work.
Yeah, he's a genius, legend in his own bedroom.
Right.
I had to come up with an original one that time, I don't know. Rather than a legend in his own lunchtime. And he's well chuffed with the Sunday show. He loved it.
Yeah, what we need is groupies. How come we don't have that?
Yeah. Did you see the exclusive links I gave you to the YouTube version of the Sunday show? Earlier.
It's up on videos? Wow.
Did you put
Yeah, that was me. Yeah, it was in 1996. You see that how far it goes back. I didn't realise it was like her, and obviously that's why I remembered it and gave it the title of the Sunday show. But that was a 1996 BBC thing.
Oh, I see now.
Yeah.
Who is
I
Romo?
also thought she was quite hot, whoever she was.
I don't even know who Romo is.
Oh, I don't know who Romo is. Maybe that's the woman who presents it.
Okay. I always liked that one of the Stern fans got on with Prince Charles on a radio show, and the show is called Any Answers. What a terrible name for a program.
Any Answers?
Yeah.
Well, because I think they didn't they do a show on the BBC called Any Questions or something like that?
I don't know.
Old fussy radio show, like Radio 4 or something.
Oh, look, here's
Any
Prince on the
questions?
Sunday show.
Yeah. See? Do you see all the famous guests I've already got? I've already interviewed them.
Right.
You didn't know I did so much.
This was before Maggot's sex change operation. This is what he looked like.
Oh, no, she's my ventriloquist dummy, if you talk about the woman on it. No, she's my dummy. I'm just talking through her. And she's like, I'm just like telling her the words, and then she sexes them up.
You're speaking into that little earpiece.
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah, like presidential style.
Maggot.
Yes, it was me. I was the mastermind behind that version of the Sunday show as well. I gave all my talks while on the toilet. People were wondering why I was on the toilet for half an hour. They translated like, she'd hear that and then...
So, Prince Charles, our next question for you is... Well, not quite sure really. It's a sound Diana makes every once in a while.
Doesn't quite sound like him. I don't know what he sounds like. He sounds like a dork. An idiot. I must say I have to take strongest offence at that sort of behaviour. It was sort of like stammeringness. Like Hugh Grant, I suppose, always imitates.
You guys see the pictures, speaking of princes and everything, do you guys see the pictures of William and Harry in Africa where they're posing with a big huge snake?
No.
So I guess William's given up the goat and now he's gone just straight for the snake.
Yeah.
Great progression there in his photography references.
Yeah, I say. Oh, yeah. Yeah, the Billy Goat thing, whatever it was. Wasn't even Billy Goat, was it? But he was trying to look like Baphomet.
Well, the key to the proper Howard Stern call, including with Prince Charles, is to bring up the words Baba Booey.
Baba Booey?
Baba Booey?
Baba Booey.
Mm-hmm.
So what? If somebody pranks our radio or pranks...
Well, no, I don't think... We don't really take a lot of calls. And...
Iconoclast?
No, but I'm just saying, the key to your average Stern call. Like when they call Larry King and things like that.
Sure. Well, I had a quick question for your guest there. My question was, how do you feel about Baba Booey?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, they've gotten very sophisticated with it. Captain Jenks will often call in and pretend to be the head of FEMA or whatever, and he'll give a report on whatever the disaster is at the time, which is not true, and mention that the hurricane was caused by Howard Stern's farts or something like that, and Baba Booey and... But the worst part is that these national TV shows and whatever keep him on the line while he makes these shows, and they don't realize what's going on, and they never validate, who the director of FEMA is or whatever,
Sure. Well, why? They use it as much for their own ratings as Howard Stern uses.
Oh no! I mean, you would think that if they are going to take a call live on national television, they would check who it is first. They don't. I mean, it's supposed to be some professionalism here in the media, and there just isn't.
Maybe Howard Stern's people bought off the professionals.
They don't. They're just the fans. It's not that Howard doesn't endorse this.
We definitely need groupies.
Yeah.
All right, groupies out there. Those of you who are downloading our archives, we need you to help spread the message.
Yeah.
Prank other internet radio.
I don't know about that. See, Howard never asked for it. We don't ask for it either.
All right. We'll just nudge them in that direction.
You can nudge.
Okay. Hey, we're screwing other people. That's it, I'm done. I won't say another word on the subject. Public news. BP.
Yeah, I was going to say, go on, carry on. I was going to air news articles. I'm stuck in a fight. Fight! My knife.
Uh-oh. Maggot's about to go down, ladies and gentlemen.
The obsessive Don groupies, you know.
No, it is you, my evil enemy, Broken Beast Engine 95. Who's going to go down this time? That's Skeleton Spirit. Yes, you only come back for that, Harry. It's just like James Bond. He's out killing people.
Coming up next, live on American Freeman.
It is. It's E-Bond.
Evil 1625-886.
Yeah.
For Bristol.
Well, while talking to tell. It is, though. It's like a parody of James Bond, what I do. Cyber version of James Bond, but less of that, Mr. Bond. Don't need any of the cybering on this show. Thank you very much.
No, only off the air. Only off.
No, I was taking the piss out of M. You know, because Bond would always say, I like shagging girls. And then it would be, less of that, Mr. Bond. No shagging while on duty. But shagging is my duty. You're killing people I just do for laughs, and you cover it up.
My real job is spreading of venereal disease.
Yeah. To all the high-class slaves. You can barely remember my name. Ooh, it's like, can you construct a complete sentence? How long did it take you to remember my name?
My name's Bond. Stockton.
Brook Bond.
Bond.
Banking Bond.
BP was founding member of Cap and Trade Lobby. Oh, really? I would have never guessed that.
We gotta stop that right away.
It's apparently currently stalled in the Senate, right?
That fraud is it's criminal.
Oh, yeah. Apparently, it is currently stalled in the Senate. So,
if they pass it, that means every one of those people has to be removed right away.
Not only that, but BT is one of the heaviest investors in alternative green technology.
bullshit.
So, they have this little leak creating a disaster, and everybody goes, green technology now! Green technology now!
Yeah.
Well, we have to have green technology. So yeah, it's the article goes on and talk about how now that BP's oil rig has caused the biggest environmental disaster in American history, the left is pulling the same bogus trick it did with Enron and AIG. Whenever a company earns universal ire, declare it the poster boy for the free market. Yeah,
It's always for a bogus excuse.
sure. BP was founding member of the U.S. Climate Action Partnership, U.S. CAP, a lobby dedicated to passing a cap-and-trade bill. As the nation's largest producer of natural gas, BP saw many ways to profit from climate legislation, notably by persuading Congress to provide subsidies to coal-fired power plants that switch to gas.
Well, what the climate they're trying to get to is total totalitarianism. Yeah.
Yeah. In February, BP quit use cap without giving much of a reason beyond saying the company could lobby more effectively on its own than in a coalition that is increasingly dominated by power companies. They made out particularly well in the House's climate bill, while natural gas producers suffered. But 2 months later, BP signed off on Senator John Kerry, Democrat of Massachusetts, Senate climate bill, which was hardly a capitalist concoction. One provision BP explicitly backed, according to Congressional Quarterly reports, a higher gas tax. The money would be earmarked for building more highways, thus inducing more driving and more gasoline consumption. Who are they trying to benefit?
Oil companies?
No.
No. Oh, this uncontrollable oil leak is a metaphor for the age of Aquarius as well, in case you hadn't guessed that. Oil flooding into the waters, covering the surface of the Earth. Sort of thing, yeah. Well, you know, the undersurface, but you know what I mean. It's like covering the globe.
Right.
So it's like a different fluid. If you think instead of waters, you think fluid.
Right.
Either that or just lazy bastards and they can't be asked for capping it and they just want a big oil spill everywhere. Oil is also associated with healing fluid, life as well, and of course, like Jesus Christ, I think.
That's why it's
means
red.
anointed,
Did you notice it's red?
Is it red?
The leak is red.
Yeah, I did actually. Yeah, because normally oil is all sparkly. It's all like black, and then till you shine a light on it, and then it's all like reflective, isn't it? Like
This
blue
leak
and
is red.
yeah.
I'm just coming in the of the ground because there's different compositions. You've got heavy oil and lighter grade oils on them, as well as a few other minerals and other things filtered out of it.
Is he talking?
Yeah, you're a bit quiet.
He's like talking to himself out to the wall.
Something about oil.
He drifted off.
You're saying
like,
oil-excellent.
Sorry, were you all talking at me?
yeah, you just seemed like you were talking to the wall. Like you walked away from the microphone.
Yeah, you're too far away.
Oh, well, I'm sorry. The microphone. I turned the gain down on the microphone, and I wasn't talking real loud. So sorry about that. What I said was, the oil that's coming out there has got to be a blend of the heavy oils and lighter grade oils, and as well as the minerals and everything mixed into it, which is why it looks that reddish color. I mean, it obviously hasn't gone through a refining process. The oil that you see leaking out of cars and getting spilled all over the road that has that blackish and then that glinting sheen off of it's a refined oil. So
Yeah. So I reckon they
Since
will
Carter,
probably
we've not been allowed to build a refinery. We have old refineries now that are pre-Carter.
Yeah. It's weird because it's so obviously pre-planned. I mean, how can you drill an oil well and not have contingency plans in case it leaks? You know, it doesn't happen. They've got so much oil they can choose to dig for as well. Not to mention the fact they're capping stuff needlessly. You know?
Sure.
So it was obviously pre-planned to happen. And by covering the surface of the Earth, I mean, it's like it's going to keep pumping out, yeah, and you've got the streams and the currents and all that. And, you know, all the oceans and rivers and everything else all connected, apparently, at the base. I'm not that good on geology, but I know it's all connected. There's like a deep underground ocean thing that connects them all. Because, you know, water goes down to the lowest source. So by allowing all this oil to spill, like millions of gallons of it or whatever, they're basically going to, it's going to reach our whole planet.
Well, that's what they're threatening with it.
Yeah.
Of course, no greater thing than using this as the excuse, as well, this is the greatest environmental disaster in history. This is what.
Yeah. And just at the right time as well. Yeah.
Still.
Yeah, this is an excuse to force radical environmentalism on.
Exactly.
It's the deepest oil well, isn't it, ever built or something? It's only like 5,000 feet below the surface. Sort of reminds me of The Abyss, that James Cameron movie.
No.
You know, where they basically go down to the bottom of the abyss and wake up the dead ones or the great old ones, whatever. And eventually it gobs up all the old ships, doesn't it? They put a net on there. They have a net at the bottom of the ocean or something, and it raises all the ships to the surface.
Yeah. And they don't have any of that problem of decompression.
Yeah. Of course. Sounds like a typical James Cameron film.
Yeah. Convenient science.
Right. Convenient.
Yeah, because I mean, if they did send up the ships that fast, it'd probably explode. So they obviously wouldn't get the bends. They got no lungs. But, you know, they'd just explode from the decompression.
Oh, but not in the movies. Didn't you read the script?
No.
That's
not.
the part on page 745 where all it is just a big, huge hole right in the middle of the page.
And that is the whole abyss. That is the abyss in itself.
Yes, exactly. It's a gigantic hole in the plot.
Yeah, exactly.
The unexplained marvels of the script. Beautiful thing. We're 58 days into this oil spill. I mean, come on.
Really? So long? That's 2 months almost.
Practically 2 months, 58 days as of this morning into this oil spill.
And even like these solutions they have for capping it coming like so slowly, it's all like a kind of trip feed, isn't it?
Well, it's just so ridiculous. I mean, one of their ideas at one point was to try to plug the hole with garbage and ping pong balls.
Yeah, I heard that one. That's gonna work with the pressure coming out of that at that depth.
I can't plug a water leak in my basement with garbage and ping pong balls.
No, it's
That's
like
surface pressure.
yeah. Well, they just chuck loads of old hair. Check loads of old hair down it because that works in the showers, doesn't it? You know.
There you go.
That only takes like 3 or 4 months of hair falling out into the shower.
Right.
To pull it out. Yeah, that would work.
That does a great job of plugging a drain.
Yeah.
Sure.
And you need a couple of 1,000 tons or something like that.
Although I have heard that they have been using hair to absorb oil on the surface.
Mm.
Which I thought
They
was
want this. That's why there's no solution. They want this problem.
Exactly.
They caused it. They want it. It's on purpose. It's not an accident.
No.
It's to scare us. So they'll let it go until there's oil filling the whole earth, you know.
Well, CC, you had CC. You still with us there?
Yeah.
You had a comment a few weeks back on the Korean connection with the oil rig there.
Yep. Apparently, according to the naval intelligence of the Russian Northern Fleet, it was a sabotage job by the North Koreans that caused the initial blowout. And there was actually, just over that next day or so, was 2 further rigs turned turtle and sank. Another one further along the coast of Louisiana. Little reported on, because the surge preventers worked in that case. And one couple of 100 miles, or 300 or 400 miles, 500 miles south, off the northern coast of Venezuela.
Yeah, neither of those have had.
And funny, there was a North Korean cargo ship left Havana 2 days before that BP Horizon rig blew its top and sailed way off course, apparently, before it turned south again to come back onto course. So I don't know. I mean, you takes your pick, you pays your money.
The oil rig Horizon, as in Event Horizon?
As in the South Korean. This is what gives it. South Korea, Oceania, actually owns that rig. BP was
It's an actual company.
Yeah, BP was operating the field and contracted Halliburton and this rig. Halliburton to work the rig and hired the rig from Oceania, the South Korean company, to actually do the work.
Oh,
So
so it's
basically-
Yarnia, isn't it? In
Yeah.
1984. Yeah. Similar enough.
So basically, BP was just the main contractor. Halliburton and this other South Korean firm were the subcontractors, which then gives you the considering the so-called torpedoing of a boat, by the north, and then this other incident here, and the Russian Northern Fleet's Marine Intelligence Service saying, well, it was these North Korean special forces that did it. Well, and then you get Mr. Obama sending paramilitary SWAT teams down there to guard the rigs. What do they know about oil production? Not a thing.
Yeah. Sending G.I. Joe, you know.
Sending G.I. Joe with his little guns, and the first time he fires it, with all the gas and shit hanging around an oil rig, kaboom! Yeah. There's another one gone up.
Yeah, you might as well send James Bond for all the good it's going to do.
Might as well just
blow it up.
Might as well just detonate a bloody hand grenade at the side of the damn rig.
Yeah, drop a TNT from helicopter or something.
Yeah, crazy. And as Rahm Emanuel said, never let a good crisis go to waste. So now they're going to sneak all this other green shit through, which is going to cost you a fortune, and carbon trading is going to come in big style.
I'm looking forward to putting a muzzle on selected people, though, because I would accuse them of wasting oxygen for me, wasting my oxygen. You know, I'll do it for their own benefit because the carbon tax. So yeah, it's for their own benefit. They're going to have them muzzled. So they're obviously wasting my breath. And they can waste their own breath, but if it's wasting breath that I could be using, you know, really disgusting.
Well, you know, Robert Heinlein, who wrote a slew of books and short stories, talks about in space and in the moon colonies and everything else, you actually have to pay for your air.
Yeah.
And
well, you have to pay for your air if you're a diver, a deep sea diver, anyway, don't you?
Right. Well, you got
you do.
You got to be able to fill your air tank, and you got to pay for it and everything. But it just seems to me that whole carbon tax thing is nothing more than an ability to practice for breathing.
Absolutely.
Yeah. It's to prepare us for our lives in outer space.
And it's also a method of control. You saw in Total Recall they cut off the air to those people in Mars.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I know, but the outer space thing will just be set up as something to trick the children with. It's only going to work on children. Well, they think everybody's a child anyway, but it's the whole thing you'd like tell infants, isn't it? Like, there is a Father Christmas, there is Santa Claus, and the reason we're charging you for breathing is to pay you for when you live in outer space and deep space colonies. Just watch the TV, be on there every day.
Sure, you start it now so that by the time our generation is dead, the next generation coming up is already pre-programmed to accept that it is valid truth. Like, I have nieces and nephews that can get on a computer and do things at the age of 4 that there was no way I could have done, partly because the technology didn't exist at the time, but because I certainly didn't have the exposure to computers at that age, and it just seems an indoctrination of the passivity aspect and accepting everything that comes across this magical digital box as being true. The computer is supplanting the TV at this point.
And they've even got a hierarchy in place of it's made out of like customer preferences of snobbishness. But
they can't wait for another generation. They have to have the end game now.
I'm just doing a new notice.
Ooh. On what?
James R. Bothnot at parliament.co.uk. Your position on the Defence Committee. And it reads as such, just the preamble. You, sir, are a traitor, putting Israel's interests before the interests of the United Kingdom. Your chairmanship of the Friends of Israel group is a clear conflict of interest considering your position at UK Defence.
Yeah.
You are there to represent me and my fellow citizens of the United Kingdom, not those of the citizens of Israel. I hereby give you notice, should Israel commit any further war crimes and crimes against humanity, I will hold you personally responsible for any failure to restrain that Zionist regime of Benjamin Netanyahu in Tel Aviv. I will also make a formal complaint to the Crown Courts alleging your treasonous activities.
Sounds good.
Stuff that in your pipe and smoke it.
Yeah. That's pretty much somebody could send to Rand Paul as well. We've got to wait for him to become a senator now first, though. But yeah, I suppose you could just put a few ifs if you become a senator.
Right. Yeah.
He's like just as bad, pretty much. But he's not even anywhere at the moment. He's nobody.
Well, get the notice finished and mail it off and see if any response is given to it. I'm gonna guess no. Well, yeah, it seems impossible that they could wait for another generation because...
I think they'd be waiting to sort of power up their like hypnosis machines or whatever, wait for the right moment. And it's like in so many, well, I suppose in James Bond again movies, whatever, when they all got the reactor or whatever and it's heating up. So many action movies, they've always got something that's heating up, haven't they, in the background? And like it's got to reach the target before it goes into critical mass and explodes. And I reckon they've reached critical mass on whatever they've been using, whether it's HARP or whatever, or perfecting the mind control on the population. And I reckon they must have come to the conclusion they're at that point now. They can just just roll the population basically, get them to do whatever they want, and nobody's going to stop them.
Yes, we are.
Well, I'm not saying I agree with them. I'm just saying, that's the impression I get. It just seems to be so blatant.
We're going to stop them.
A lot of folk in, or at least some of my friends around the Yorkshire area and what have you. It's only going to take one spark, and there'll be massive unrest in the UK. And being as most of the army's over in Afghanistan and what have you.
Yeah.
The police just won't be able to hold it back. They'll just roll over the cops.
Sure.
It's coming. One particular friend was in the hospital and he was talking about all these things, and people were just literally getting so angry and shouting across the room, about what's happening.
Yeah. Because a lot of people, it's going to hit them like a tidal wave. And just flatten them. They just won't be able to believe how deeply they've been screwed.
Well, they have been screwed. I mean, they're still being screwed.
Yeah. Just won't be able to believe it. They'll be pulling it out. It's like, oh my god. Never realised they had screwed this boat over. Well, yeah, I mean, Alex Jones a while back was going on about how they'll fail by their own hubris. Just sort of like inability to react correctly to the situation. They like live in their own dream world as well, the elites and stuff. Just want to carry on with their plan, their amazing plan. Oh well, they suck. Anybody got any news articles to read? I'm going to have to go in a second. A few minutes. New bill gives Obama kill switch to shut down the internet. Wow.
Say again.
New bill gives Obama kill switch to shut down the internet. It's under Lieberman legislation.
Oh yeah, that piece of shit.
I'll give you a link to the article if you want just to keep things going. I'm going to go for 10 minutes. Need to get some coffee and stuff. Oof. Oh, we could just listen to Crazed Dog in the background. That'd be fun.
grief.
What is that?
Don't,
What is that?
for goodness sake, don't give up your day job.
Who's that coming from?
I have no idea.
I don't know.
Did I miss anything fun?
It says Israel expected to ease Gaza blockade, so they're obviously lying here in the article. Middle East envoy Tony Blair brokers deal in meetings with Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. It's today's article. The Israeli cabinet is expected to agree today to a plan to ease off the blockade on Gaza. The new arrangements decided in a series of meetings between Blair and Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu over the past 10 days would cover 3 areas. A list of prohibited goods not allowed into Gaza.
Such as food, water, medicine, guns.
Right.
And
agreement to allow construction materials for UN-sponsored projects. And Israel is to consider allowing EU monitors to be stationed at crossings between Israel and Gaza.
So only UN-approved construction.
Yeah.
And only EU monitors. So
Well, I think they're going to construct camps or something.
right. I'm surprised they didn't allow FEMA to come in.
Well, FEMA could only make the situation worse, so... Of course, I'm sure they'll be let in next week.
Yeah.
The FEMA's mainly to torture us, you know. They have the UN to torture other people.
Right. Gotcha. Okay.
Kidnap their children and rape them. The UN's been caught how many times doing that? I mean...
I don't know how many times.
A tremendous number.
Kidnapped.
That was Cynthia McKinney used to ask Rumsfeld about that.
Which is,
Publicly.
of course, why you can't find any of or transcripts of her interviews or videos.
Sure you
of-
can.
Sure you can.
Well, I mean, they don't want that available, but it is available. She's the one that went to Gaza first, you know, with the same route and the same everything, and they have this story to replace her story. And she had the same blockade.
Yay, Israel.
36 orange-clad women ejected from the Holland-Denmark game. I don't know what game this is. They were released on bail.
The Holland-Denmark game would be the World Cup game.
Oh, screw that. Get rid of that article.
Now that's exciting. Here we go. Mexicans take over parts of Arizona.
Great.
A massive stretch of Arizona now off limits to Americans. Critics say, in effect, the administration is giving a major strip of the Southwest back to Mexico. That's awesome. Be right back, guys. I gotta answer this phone call real quick.
Well, when they get them all in one place, then they can send in the army, and they know they're not going to be damage any Americans. Oh, that's marvellous, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh well. People continue to be stupid.
They just keep falling for the same stunts over and over again. It says,
Yep.
It says violence plan, says UN in a country I can't pronounce. It's KYRGYZ.
Kyrgyzstan. Kyrgyzstan. Whatever it is.
Oh, they're forcing the Uzbeks to flee.
Yeah. The Russians are coming. The Russians are coming. Well, yeah, I mean, that little tiny state, well, not so little, but it's the state of Borat, if you remember. Then that puts Russia right on the Iranian border, both in the northwest and in the northeast. Should a certain Zionist country decide to attack.
What? I thought that Borat was from Kazakhstan, not Kyrgyzstan.
I don't know, one of them anyway. One of them
Borat's from
stands.
England.
One of them stands.
I mean, Borat's from England. He's a Jewish comedian from England. He's never been to Kazakhstan. Even when they filmed the movie, they went to Romania. Just for that one scene. When he was supposed to be in his home country.
The Catholic Church is currently being shaken by a number of financial scandals, not only in Franconia, but also in Augsburg, another
Franconia?
Bavarian city, where Bishop Walter Mixas dipped into funds for the foundation that runs children's homes, which recently made headlines. More than 40 million euros have gone missing in the diocese of Magdeburg in East Germany. 5 million have disappeared from Limburg near Frankfurt, and it was recently discovered that a senior priest in the diocese of Munster had 30 secret bank accounts while parishes throughout Germany are cutting jobs and funds for community work, many bishops are still living on the high horse, high off the hog, boys and girls. A brand new residence, an ostentatious home for their retirement. Restoration of the Marianne Column to the tune of 120,000 euros. None of these expenditures presents a problem to high-ranking church officials. From Trier in the west to Passau in the southeastern corner of Bavaria, whose coffers are brimming with cash. Of course, in Germany, you pay a tax to the church straight out your wages. Did you know that?
No.
They actually take a tax out of your salary and give it to the church. That is obscene.
Yeah. Very obscene.
Oh, there's a young priest here. Looks like he's got lipstick on. Good grief, Charlie Brown. The ostentatious view of the Catholic Church. Very interesting. Shades of Rowan and Martin's laughing here. Israeli nuclear missile subs off the Iranian coast. Israel is stationing 3 of its 5 Dolphin-class submarines in the Red Sea and will keep them operating off the Iranian coast at all times. These subs will be armed with cruise missiles equipped with nuclear warheads. The Israelis have developed a cruise missile which has a range of 1,500 kilometers, carries a 200 kiloton nuclear warhead. The object of deploying the nukes on subs is to further enhance deterrence to a nation launching a nuclear strike against Israel. If one of the Dolphins are always at sea, even a first strike against Israel would not prevent a nuclear strike by submarine-launched nukes. Well, there you go. Unfortunately, these Dolphin class are a heap of crap. They can only stay submerged for about 14 days, then they have to surface. Oops! We know where you are.
14 days is kind of a long time.
I wouldn't want to be submerged for 14 days.
Yeah, but you see, if you submerge for 14 days, then they've got to, when they do come up, they've got to refuel because they haven't got that. They can only do 10,000. Sorry, 8,000 kilometers maximum range before refueling. So, very vulnerable time refueling, and of course they're using fuel all the time if they're submerged to keep the lights on and the.
Well, sure, it's like a fish has to keep breathing.
Yeah. So they can only say submerged. They can, if they close everything down, the maximum endurance is 50 days. Not much like the 6 new subs that BAE Systems have built. Don't ever need to come to the surface, only for that human infestation, so they can take on board food. Everything else is done within the boat.
Yeah, well.
And this,
I knew years ago that the Navy wasn't for me.
Yeah,
but I can't imagine being on a sub.
Well, you should read the actual specifications of this new Brit sub. It can sit off the coast of Portsmouth and detect and recognise a ship that's leaving New York Harbour 3,000 somebody miles away, using a special array of sonar detectors. Let me see, American Freeman. I'll just send this this document to you just to show it when it was first being in 2000 and something or other. Let me just have a look at this.
Your Honor, as soon as we got divorced in 04, Rudy has been...
He's never watching TV in the background. Turn it off.
...to the disease that causes her to have...
There we go. So, we welcome one of our fellow Freemen on the land here with us today. Evan, thank you for being with us. Claim you have stories and have uncovered a conspiracy in the United States Postal Service.
Good afternoon, everyone. How are we doing this one today?
I can still sit upright and take in food and oxygen, so it's a good thing.
I can't. My eyes hurt really bad. Just my one eye.
You keep that rock lodged in?
That's amazing. That's amazing. Well, gents, let me just bring you up to speed.
I'm back! Right.
Did you go somewhere, Maggot?
Yes, I went to a special place. After I defeated the ruler of Atlantis. I did. I defeated the old-time ruler of Atlantis.
High score?
His name's Raheth. high score is I got his armor. I'm going to collect an award for killing him.
See, Caribbean
We
Chris.
suddenly switched over to the G4 radio network. Go ahead, Evan.
Yeah, I
Got stories. You've uncovered a conspiracy you claim. We'd love to hear it.
Yeah, I'll begin with that, and I'll ask
Conspiracy?
Caribbean Critic a question. What occurred, and for all our listeners, I want them to also be very aware of this type of a tactic. When you use the United States Postal Service in a dispute of a claim of any sort, make sure you follow up, which is kind of common, you normally would, but just making sure that you follow up with your certified mail numbers for what you would check to see the delivery date and the receipt and signature, all by their website. They have a website for that. What I discovered was that a claim that was supposed to be me responding to them, sending it to me, received by them to get this response, they are dodging the response to win favor in the court of a court that I have no contract with, but it also would require me, if I've been sent a contract offered by a court, to reject it and send it back. And they also would like to have that same copy of that sent to the lawyer, the petitioner for that party, to also put them on notice of my response. What the lawyers tend to do is avoid your response so they can return to the court, even though you've taken care of that part, the public part. They come and tell the court that, well, they did not receive their response, so therefore they're in default of not notifying us. So what they've broadened their conspiracy out to is this. They have, on some instances, mail couriers that will visit certain law offices year after year after year. And of course, friendships out of expecting those deliveries would be developed. Well, it seems that the mail route person who delivered to this address delivered the item last week Friday. However, it seems the item was not scanned once it was delivered, so therefore producing no record of delivery on the USPS site. Now, the conspiracy goes further. I actually visited the post office that particular priority mail, by the way, it wasn't just a certified letter, it was sent priority mail envelope, certified return receipt. I visited the mail location, the USPS location out in that area in Long Island, Queens, New York, and I spoke with one supervisor who is now with a complaint number, which I also filed, has to investigate this. And I described the situation to him, and he understood it. He indicated to me that he previously, before being a supervisor, used to be a mail courier, knew the address, knew the name of the parties at that address before I even told him. I just said I had a delivery to one of the areas in this neighborhood for New Hyde Park, a law office. That's when he went to say the name, and he said the address, so he already knew because he used to deliver there. So what I'm putting together for everyone who's listening is the awareness of the possibility that when you send things out and you have to contact a lawyer in your response, make sure that when you use the USPS, check the website, and you got your 72-hour window for once they receive it, follow up. Go to the post office if you have to, if it's available for you to go to it, and speak with a supervisor, come with a pad and pen, write everything down, call the USPS website customer service, file a complaint, and proceed forward to, accumulate this evidence.
Put them on notice, Evan.
Hold on. Before we even get to that point, I've got a quick question.
Yes.
Now, did you take this to the post office yourself and send it out, or did you have it sent out by the notary?
Sent out by the notary. Who, by the way, I'll be seeing a little later today, because and I'll send that file in now. What we are doing is we are getting together a document. I already completed it. I'm going to send two in so you can view it. The first one, number 4, is something I formulated. I'm not sure if Caribbean Critic can see through the open files through the Skype, but it would be helpful if you could. Just to look at the format that I put together for the notary actually calling this action. This is the first one coming through. And this next file that I'm sending, that's number 4. The next one is number 3. Number 3 would be by way of the notary, but with my information on it. So I have 2 versions that I will be sending and indicating to both the parties or the lawyer and the court. Neither party has responded, and they are silent in their acquiescence and acceptance by that acquiescence of all matters to their claim that they sent previously that was responded to. There are 3 responses that 2 went to the lawyer, and one of which was actually electronic fax. And I also sent 1, 2, 3 responses, because the way the New York City clerk office works, if for anyone listening, be aware that if you receive a notice of petition and you reject that and send that back, what you must be aware that they will send you a small index card that also invites you to come. Now, if you do not have a contract with them at all, you've never been in a court, make sure you reject those cards and send them back too. What it is they put out maybe 3 or 4 invitations to you to come to the party. And make sure you reject those as well too. So that's an important thing. A little glitch in the system could cause a recourse on anyone that would be taking action.
Okay, now what you're going to do, you're going to put the United States Postal Service on full commercial liability. You're going to notice them that they are on full commercial liability for any losses you sustain for failure to record and deliver this notice and legal document in a timely fashion.
I see. Excellent. Full commercial liability.
Yep.
Nice.
They might even have to buy you a new apartment if you get stuffed.
I explained, without using the words of full commercial liability, I explained to the supervisor that because your service provides, and I pointed to his sign that hangs up, priority mail, 2 to 3 day delivery, and as of the 16th, it is still under your own website documentation, technically sitting here. You have one mail carrier that verified verbally to me over the phone she delivered it, but give it time for it to show up on the site. Well, the time has passed, 5 days, and it's not showed up, but her verbal confirmation that it was delivered also will be included and submitted in form of an investigation to your postal inspector. The gentleman's eyes popped out his head. So he already told me that somebody's going to call me before 5 p.m. today to give you some answers onto this matter and such and such. But I told him in a different way, without using a full commercial liability, which is what I'll be doing indefinitely, is that the responsibility on your part to assure your delivery has failed. So now you are responsible. So he didn't say anything. I says, you understand, sir? You are responsible. He says, no, I understand what you're saying. So again, that term understanding and standing under what I just said is what he indicated. So excellent in the way of that, just little happenings that for all those listenings to be aware of. And excellent in the way that they decided to divert with a company of friends from actually doing their job to document the proof that was served. So my notary knows about it. He's all ready to go forward with whatever next step has got to be taken. Those 2 documents that I sent, like one of them is going to go faxed over to the lawyer since I got the fax number, and then again mailed to them. And then another one will be mailed to the court. And the convenience of mailing to the court, because I live in the city, is a 1-day thing. I mean, I could go to any one of the post offices near the location of the court, and it'll get there tomorrow. And now, the court date that was scheduled was for Friday, and by now, someone should have said something, and the acquiescence is silence and acceptance, so that's a done deal. So I'm eager to see what will happen from Friday on. Oh, question. Caribbean Critic, here is a question regarding the complaint of fraud. The complaint of fraud that was sent to the court. When we discussed this previously, and it put them on notice to investigate the fraud and how they have no jurisdiction until that is completed of any sort. Now, question is this. In receiving that, would it be if the lawyers came in and said, "Oh, well, we didn't get a response," that complaint of fraud, technically, would that supersede them even getting a response since the court was notified that there's a fraud and they need to investigate?
Yeah, absolutely.
Wonderful.
A court you see, a fraud masquerading as a complaint cannot invoke the jurisdiction of any court.
I see. So
in other words, they're trying to lie. So the court has to arrest that fraud. They have to stop it. They have to investigate it and stop that fraud before they can do absolutely anything.
I see. Wow.
And if they don't arrest that fraud, then the judge or whoever's actually doing this on behalf of the court is failing in his fiduciary duty to uphold the law.
Right. Wow. So here comes the lawyer. Hey, they didn't respond. Basically, because of the complaint of fraud, they tell him, "You got to go home because we can't discuss with you until we're done in our investigation," so to speak.
Yep.
Oh, wow. That's perfect. Wow. That is
But you put that to the court. This complaint is a fraud masquerading as this is a fraud masquerading as a complaint, and doesn't invoke the jurisdiction of this court, so they can't ask you anything because they've got no jurisdiction until they've arrested that fraud.
Wow.
Simple as that. You can't tell a lie to a court and then expect the court to bring you in and try you on a lie.
Wow.
It ain't gonna work.
Wow. This is the complaint of fraud coming through right now for anyone that would want to look at it. That was, I had a little assistance as a McKinsey friend from Caribbean Critic on that matter, which was, very well put. So, definitely, while that's the news, I did understand it that way. I just wanted to come back and ask that question after following up with all my running around to get all the other loose ends tightened up. So excellent. Wow.
So if they do finally drag you into court, you point all these things out, by the way, and then you're just going to say to the judge, how many times do I have to show that this, that there's been misdemeanors and frauds and literally contempt for the law and contempt for this court? How many times it has to happen before you arrest it and stop it and say there's no case to answer? Because there's little prospect of me gaining justice without that happening.
Wow. Amazing. Well, that's the greatest news, because see, what they did was they tried to go to like the 30-day vacate thing, and of course, ignored all my responses previously and went to the court begging.
Yeah. Well, I mean, get the. There's another avenue. There's so many avenues in this thing that you file a default judgment through the notary.
Right. Now that's coming next. Right. The default judgment. Yes. After the default.
And it is a judgment, and it's a judgment then they would have to appeal against before they could go forward with the original complaint.
Right. See, that's what the next phase of what they were looking to institute on me based on that 30-day vacate. See, the 30-day vacate would be, the next thing would be, okay, you're by default, now we can throw you out. So that's what they were looking to get me boxed into that category.
They tell you, they'll try all these different tactics.
Right, exactly. So now I beat them by sending a complaint of fraud, so they can't proceed by the lawyer trying to play little sneaky games. Oh, we didn't get it. Nope, that's too bad. We can't discuss anything with you when they walk in there because we got to investigate this, blah, 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 blah. That's it for you. So now they can't proceed to be able to get, like, what would happen here is if they did that, they would proceed to go get the marshal, the bonded, and then I get a pink slip in the mail that says, you got to show cause to come down here, otherwise 7 days get out, because they're coming with the marshal, which is all erroneous because they don't have any jurisdiction either because I never was in contract. But that's their angle. That's what they were looking to try to do. Avoid getting my response. But the response wasn't an answer as a typical A for V. It was high-powered, as Caribbean Critic, like I said, assisted the McKinsey friend with the complaint of fraud. And that shut it down. Amazing. Amazing. Truly, truly amazing.
Glad we could help you, Evan.
Oh my goodness, thank you, everyone. This is like a saga from any one of these crazy channels on cable. I love this.
Are you having fun?
Oh, I'm having fun. I'm having so much fun.
You see, the lawyers in the court, the people who are, the clerks in the court and that are trying to get this thing filed and done properly, they must be pulling their hair out.
Oh, they are. They have to be.
They're not having any fun.
Amazing. Truly, truly amazing. And what I've realized also is that, and anyone feel free to correct me if I'm wrong here, what I'm also noticing is that when you're in a claim dispute with someone, they have you A for V, you send it back, A as V, you send it back, and then afterwards, what I see is they send a couple of more claims. Now, if I'm not incorrect in saying this, when you took care of that, you kind of created a trust out of the way that it's discharged through your exemption on your identification through your social number and your bond number. Now, if you do that again and repeat it for the same ones that they may change a few words and add the same claim amount or maybe add another amount to something else, they found some more fees they could tack to it. My point is, if you continue to A for V and not only do once and protest from that point and, the default, you could be creating more trust and paying them again and again and again. Does that sound correct?
You will be, yeah. That's the idea.
Yes.
That's why they want you to send the money, because they'll do the claim off your bond anyway. Well, and they'll get paid twice if you send cash out your account, another check. So don't do that.
What I think he's asking, CC, real quick. What I think he's asking, and correct me if I'm wrong, is once you've done that, accepted for value, and sent it off to them, and then they continue to send you more statements.
Yes.
If you then
statement is not an invoice, and an invoice you don't pay on statements. It's not a legal bill.
Right, but let me finish the question real quick. So you've already on one of them accepted for value and sent it back, and they've gone, no, we don't accept that, and sent you another statement demanding that you send payment in. If you were to take that and write accepted for value on it with the red lines and everything else, etc., and send that back, are they going to collect twice off of your bond?
Yes.
Because you have accepted for value twice for the exact same supposed billing.
Right, exactly. And this is
then you see you can allege fraud and allege fraud, and what's the other word? Fraud and
mischief?
No.
Perjury?
Perjury, perjury.
Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
Perjury and fraud.
Okay. So clearly for those listening, what is being said is that should anyone receive any type of a claim that they will be disputing, make sure that you do the A for V. If you're doing it, you do it once. Don't do it more than once. Your protest begins from the one time. This is a very common mistake that many people have made. So what they do is they keep doing the A for V, assuming that the other party will stand down, as if it's so true and correct and complete that they will understand.
No, you see, what you can do though, if they send you another one, that's indicative, because you're going to assume they're honest. That's right. indicative that they have refused to accept the first A for V. Because you assume they're actually going to be honest and put it to claim the money off your birth bond and get paid. Right. You assume they haven't. So when they send another one,
right?
You can send that, you can return that to them with that letter alleging perjury and fraud. Yeah.
Right.
But you can also send another letter that they've refused payment in the first place. Boom.
Wow.
They've actually refused payment, and then actually to refuse payment is to nullify the bill.
All right. Say that again, CC, just for the benefit of people who are going to be downloading and listening to this later. Just keep that concept just one more time.
Yeah, so if they send you a second bill, they've refused payment of the first one. Actually, it's better to leave it until about the third time. But each time, don't send them anything. Just send the original bill back without the A for V, alleging fraud and perjury. On the second twice they send it to you, so you've done it, you've A for V'd the first one, you send the other two back alleging fraud and perjury, but with that third time you've offered the payment 3 times.
Amazing.
You've offered them payment 3 times, they've turned it down, so you say, sod you, it's now zeroed because you refuse to accept payment.
Amazing.
If you can show in a court of law that they've refused to accept the payment, what are they taking you to court for?
Absolutely. That's absolutely
you've in good faith, you've tried to pay them 3 times, and sorry, if I've tried to pay them 3 times and they've refused to accept that payment 3 times, then it's their fault. I don't owe them anything.
Right.
I owe nothing. Yeah.
Right. And this is about exactly what you said, in good faith. And in honor. And so we're responding for those listening again, in good faith and in honor. Those terms are definitely used in legalese to speak when you are defining your actions and what you're doing. So that's very also, very advantageous to use those terms when you're communicating to other parties on your behalf. Excellent. Wow.
Never let it be said that we don't try to encourage learning on this radio program.
Never let it be said. Absolutely.
We're here to help you learn as much as possible.
What an amazing ride. I mean, I have learned in the last 2 weeks something as much as it could shut down so many sectors from people who brag in their way of their degrees and the way of their advantageous abilities to do this, that, and here you go with just the truth and stopping them dead in their tracks and causing them to be up in a frenzy about it all too.
What?
Ruffling feathers.
Is my degree from Oxford not good enough for you?
Degree from Cambridge.
Right, I'm sorry, my degree.
Maggot's keeping old arguments alive.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much, gents. That information was truly and very so helpful. This for me today actually will be a short visit because I'm going to actually take the last couple of informations that I sent previously just to tighten those ends up for my last round of completing my part before I head out to get these other parties that actually started the claim because they're in default. So I have claims following up on the New York City Housing Authority. Oh, by the way, for those listening, New York State has no budget, and I got word from quite a few people who are familiar with individuals that are state police, individuals who are state correction officers, state employees and officials. They have received their last paycheck as of last week and were told on notice verbally that they will not be paid until they get further notice as to whether they will and can be paid. So if you're not hearing this on the news, if you're wondering what's going on, there's the meat and potatoes right there. State of New York is in an extreme fiscal crisis right now. Not that any place else isn't, but so amazing,
They're just gonna borrow for their spending anyway, just like they always do.
Yes.
Lenny and I had a long conversation about this. You can actually request the financial documentation for your county, for your state, for your city, and everything else. And if you read the first half of it, if you can get through the first half, it's so awful. It will seem as though they have absolutely no money. And then when you get to the second half of it, which you can only get to if you've gotten to the first half of it, and the second half is worse than the first, but if you can force your way through it, you realize that they have more money than they know how to spend because all they do is all the money that you've paid into the system goes out to pay the interest on the loans that they've taken out to pay for all the services anyway, and all they're going to do is just take out more loans to pay for more services.
Wow. Wow. And there is, for those listening, wondering why they cut everything, that's why. A lot of what was secured already in whatever bond they had for whatever projects and funding of their municipalities and agencies and offices have to be cut to cover the overhead of what they don't have in a way of bargaining to the banks to give them their money. And that whatever looks as appears to be some sort of a sit down and working out tons and tons of documentation, as I've heard many times, is theater. It is absolute theater. Sure. And when you realize what is really being done, begging, it's all begging to the banks to get more loans, because we're operating, all corporate operations are operating under these bonds. And there is no money. So with everyone wondering, where's this, where's that? There's your answer. There is no money. So they have to borrow based on bond value. And that's where, for those listening, wondering about the accepted for value using your birth bond, that's where your exemption begins. Because it's their bond that credits them to do their operations. It's your bond that credits you from any fees you have to pay. Correct me for anyone if I said that wrong. But that's the understanding that I have.
Well, it's in the city that I live in. I live outside the city of Jackson, Michigan. It's a regular small city. It's been on the decline for years. It once had a population bordering near 100,000. Now we're down to about 30,000. The city has shrunk in population, etc. They have threatened, we're going to need to lay off police officers. We're going to need to shut down fire stations. We've laid off so many police officers. The tax base is disappearing, etc. And I haven't seen any reduction in fighter response times, the number of fire stations closed, or a decreased number of police presence on the street whatsoever. And they've been yelling and screaming and crying and whining about these things in local media and press for the last 5 years. But there's nothing that's significantly being done that's visible that shows that these kinds of effects are happening. It's just an excuse to continually raise taxes and to convince people that they have to pay more of their money into a system to make the system work for them so that they get their government-mandated benefits.
Yes, and you made an excellent point. I want to also bring attention to those listening again about another situation I've been hearing has been occurring by way of the IRS. I have been notified by at least 6 individuals from different corporate areas that they work in. Different corporate areas. Some are in finance, some are working for the city, some are working in just regular labor positions, but for a corporation. And what I've been hearing is people are receiving letters from the IRS related to their refunds that they're supposed to have received for 2009, that they had readjusted their return and are now being, this is just the state now, not the government, but just the state, redeeming a minimum of $500 from their returns before giving them their actual money. So if you got a return that you claim to be entitled to, let's say $1,000, you were short $500 minimum. So I had 6 different people. I've heard the lowest number was $525. Everyone else was redeemed out of $525 or more. So something to look out for. If anyone's starting to hear or see or receive this in the light of the IRS from the state, it wouldn't be the government yet. I haven't heard government yet, just the state that you live in. They are also attempting to extort monies.
And there are interviews that you can find. They're out there on the web all over the place with the former IRS officials who have stated on the record that every year the IRS sends out like 2 million letters to inhabitants of the U.S. claiming that they owe up to $2,000 in back taxes.
Interesting. Very interesting.
Randomly.
Very interesting.
Randomly. And the whole process is to ensure that they get... it's trick in order to find out how many people. Oh no, I have to be, no, and they go ahead and they throw that $2,000. They write a check for $2,000 because they get the threat that if you don't pay this, the IRS is going to put a lien against you, etc., etc., etc.
Right.
Well, fill your tax return in the first place on a 1041, the right firm, so you get everything back.
A 1041.
Yeah. Don't, I mean, because everything you all the money you get for working at a company or a salary you get paid is earnings. It's not income. Right. Income is interest on any money you get at the bank or money you receive in dividends from your holdings of stock on the
money earned above and beyond.
Yeah, you see, income is a profit on trade, if you like. You're not working for it. You're not actually exchanging anything. You buy a carton of cigarettes for $10 and you sell it for $12. You've not actually changed it. You've not improved it. You've just sold it for an extra $2. That's $2 of income. That's not earnings. That's just pure income.
Amazing. And with everyone that would receive any claim, also I noticed a technicality that occurs on these notices when they send them. When the IRS has multiple office locations, as everybody knows, what happens sometimes, if you may take care of an A for V, let's say a claim or some notice that they sent you to a location, you may not have sent it back to that location. You may have used the Washington, D.C. address, and you all of a sudden, maybe even months later, from another IRS agency location, get a notice.
Remember, Evan, that the IRS is a privately owned company. It's not part of the federal government. No.
Absolutely.
So when you send these documents to them, you know, your returns, your 1041. Yeah.
Yes.
Then along with it, you give them notice of full commercial liability.
I see. Wow.
You put them on full commercial liability. They're a private company.
Wow. Amazing.
You see, you can do these sorts of things. You can put people on notice, and they have to respond. If they don't respond within the 7 days, you go for a default. Then you get the notary to file that default notice, and then you get an enforcement notice out of the notary, and he'll send the bailiffs and the sheriff to the IRS in Delaware to collect money.
Wow, amazing. Everyone, also look out on if you receive anything like this. Also pay attention to the tax reference. There's a reference on there that they have to indicate the year that they are referring to. I had one incident where someone did an A for V. 6 months later, there was a notice came from Ogden, Utah, that requested by some investigating agent, whatever, that they needed to submit information. Two things occurred in this notice. One, the reference number or tax number for the year, the tax year, was 00000. No reference. And the mentioning of the information that they discussed in the notices was more a frightful intimidation than it was an indication. In other words, you'll see a lot of information threatening on United States Department of Justice. You may be committing fraud. Things like this we've received before. If you don't do it, you maybe. Be careful, everyone, with the maybes and the musts. These are terms that are used in legalese that are begging terms and pleading terms that have no obligation to you at all.
You have no, if they say, please fill this in, you've got no obligation to.
Yes.
Doesn't create an obligation. If it does create an obligation, you cite it as a transaction of a security interest. I'm sorry, but here it is. I'm going to bat this back to you in the form of a notice, because this is a transaction of a security interest. You've got 7 days.
Absolutely.
Otherwise, I'm going to void it. I'm going to void this.
Absolutely. So for what Caribbean Critic just said, you would not be approaching that with an A for V. You would, if you chose to answer that, you would answer the way Caribbean Critic said, and not A for V. You would be disputing it based on the previous A for V and their acquiescence on accepting it. So make sure everyone listening is aware that it is a bait, that they are hooking you, trying to get you the fish to bite into that bait on that hook, because they know it's already done. So they're trying to use another office to open it up back again by you responding with, let's say, another A for V. Remember, if you A for V'd something that didn't actually describe what they asked for, that had a tax year that didn't have a year at all but zeros, guess what you did? You didn't really help yourself, you made it worse. So be clear, everyone listening, on reading every single line and detail, number, and making sure the inaccuracies, which there are plenty, are present for you to use against them.
And if the other thing you can do is go to the government sites and download the appropriate chapter and title or whatever from the Uniform Commercial Code, because all this is contract, so it has to have full disclosure somewhere.
Yes.
So you can get hold of that, and you can read that very carefully, and it's so convoluted and twisted, you're going to find remedy within its own, within the text of whatever you're actually researching. And,
yes.
And a lot of the time there's little errors, so you're going to jump on that little error and say, look, that's an error there, look. It says one thing there, and then it says exactly the opposite there. Both of these can't be true, you know?
Yes, absolutely.
And just keep jumping on it. Well, that's a fraud, you know?
Right.
And again, you're alleging a fraud on the IRS. They're going to come after you with guns and and bombs.
Right.
Excuse me.
Bless you. Now, if you are sitting out there and you're listening to this show right now and you're staring at default notices, if you're staring at IRS notices, if you're staring at eviction notices, if you are realizing that something is seriously going wrong and you want some kind of a remedy and you're not sure where to turn to and you don't want to call a lawyer because you're just going to give you a whole bunch of runaround, you can always reach us here at the American Freeman by contacting Keep Truth Free or Clark Lake Harry's on Skype. We are more than happy to help you in any way we can. If we don't have the answer ourselves, we have a gigantic team of people who work on these issues every single day and can help you out, and we want to help you become a free human being.
Remember, if you do involve lawyers, they are a member of this society called the Law Society.
Absolutely.
And all they're going to do is try to enforce their own rules on you.
Absolutely.
Have you guys ever looked at the oath that lawyers have to give when they join the Law Society? Their oath even states in it that they swear an oath to uphold the interests of the government.
Wow.
Their oath isn't to uphold the interests and the rights of human beings, citizens, people, anything like that. No, their oath is to support and enforce and give their entire allegiance to helping the U.S. government. That means a defense lawyer that you think is going to help you when you're being prosecuted is just absolutely ridiculous.
It's just acting. Is acting on your behalf. Is not being real. It's just a theatre. It's just he's acting for you. Well, that doesn't mean he's actually doing anything for you. It's the stage is in the courtroom, and he's just acting a part. And that's not what you need. You need actual assistance with this bullshit.
Yes, yes. And for those also listening again, what we're discussing resorts to when you retain services for a law office or attorney. You are waiving your rights, so you are allowing someone else to make their decisions for you. So that's one of the reasons why, should anyone have experience dealing with lawyers or attorneys, you have this great idea, and they tell you, no, well, it's better to do it this way. And you have another great idea, no, it's better to do it this way. That's one of the reasons why you do not get the results when you put your input in. You didn't understand, you waived your rights. British BAR, law bar, the bar is
the Bar Association.
Bar Association.
The British Bar Association, that governs all common law throughout the Commonwealth.
Right, but the BAR stands for...
I'm looking it up now. I've got like 50 definitions of BAR.
Lenny would remember. If Lenny's awake and paying attention to us, he would remember exactly what it stands for.
Are you sure it's BAR? We're not any extra letters? Just
Yeah,
bar.
no, it's the Bar Association. You have to pass the bar, the BAR.
Right.
Which, I mean, even if we don't get into what A and R mean, the fact that you, as an attorney, a lawyer here in the U.S., have to be accredited by a British authority.
Yes.
I mean, that's right. Absolutely right. Didn't we fight a war in, starting 1776?
Very, very good point. For those listening, that is an excellent point that was made. You have to remember, this is a history that is current in our present due to the absence and understanding of what happened in 1776 and the impact of that to this day. There is a secret rule that's really not a secret, but it's just being avoided in a way of being brought to you in your daily of information accesses with your, whatever you use, your radio or your television. You would have to seek that out to find it. But it's that understanding from 1776 till now that is why you see the difficulties the way you do. That is why ownership isn't defined the way we think it is. When you buy a car, you think you own it. If you don't, it doesn't work that way. When you buy a house, you think you own it. It doesn't quite work that way. It's sort of...
No. When you buy a car, you do own it. The instant you transfer title and register it, you have
What?
That's what's missing. That's what's missing. Because I don't... Yeah,
no, because registration means to hand over for the purpose of safekeeping. Now, if you own the vehicle, why would you hand it over for safekeeping to anyone else?
Right.
You register it. So BAR is a British Accreditation Regency, which means every lawyer, whether they're working for the prosecution or the defense in the U.S., has to be accredited by the British Accreditation Regency. Why do we need to be accredited?
What? And the Regency is? The Regency is the Crown.
Which means the instant you hire a lawyer, all you're doing is succumbing to giving consent to Crown law.
Wow.
I'm sorry. I live in I inhabit the plot of land inside what is considered the economical borders of the United States of America. I'm not subject to the Crown. Well,
we can argue that. But anyway, Evan, your problem that you had with the post office, it is so simple to get around that, although you need a few dollars.
I see.
The reason that the way to get around that is to, for example, on the legal notice pages of the New York Times, you put your legal notice in that page. Then it's assumed that everybody in the legal profession has read those. If they don't, it's their fault.
Yes.
So you put that in the New York Times. Like when I got divorced, I put it in the London Evening Standard and my local paper that I was no longer responsible for my ex-wife's debts. That anybody that came to me after that, sorry, you should have read the legal notices in the paper.
Wow.
So that's a way round all this obfuscation from the post office and the lawyers and the and the courts and everybody. Put it in the legal notices section of your, in the case of yourself, the New York Times. Or the what's the one? The Post, is it?
The Post. Well, remember before that particular newspaper didn't decline to put my claim of right. They declined. So I mean, I didn't pursue attacking them because I had more matters at hand that I needed to take care of. But coming back around as things are slowing down.
Yeah, well, you better be I mean, to be honest, if you're going to claim of right which goes federal, you'd probably be better putting it in the Washington Post.
Got it.
If it's going federal, if you need it to go federal, you put it in the Washington Post, which is assumed to go nationwide. And New York Times, we know it does go nationwide. I mean, you can try them all, you know, as long as they're nationwide and it's in the legal notices section, you put your notice in there. It's going to cost you,
right,
for that few column inches of text,
right? But it's well worth it.
Yeah, because it notices everybody, not just
right.
You know,
right.
And the don't put it in the ordinary notices, the family notice. Make sure it goes in the legal notice section. Like if New York City wants to build a new apartment block, it puts a notice in the New York Times paper. Any objections, blah, blah, must be received within so many days, blah, blah, blah. Otherwise, this apartment block goes up.
Right.
You know? Right. They use exactly the same method. What's good for the goose is good for us ganders.
Right. Wow. Truly amazing.
So that's another method of getting around this problem of people, trying to claim they haven't received this notice, even though you may have a receipt in your hand saying, well, yeah, it was delivered. But all you have to show is that delivery notice from the organisation that you use to actually deliver it. Yeah?
Yes.
You can actually retain the services. Again, it's going to cost you, but you can retain the services of a file server, and he will then actually deliver it, get a receipt, and then make an affidavit.
I see.
Of delivery, a legal affidavit of delivery, and they're going to have an awful job trying to knock down a legal affidavit of delivery.
Wow. Well, gents, that is an amazing amount of information, and I truly do appreciate it. And I would look forward to being a guest again soon. I'm going to sign out.
Just let everybody know on the program how long they've been trying to get you out of this apartment and how long you've up to now delayed it or battered it away.
Okay, for those listening, they had been trying to get me out for 3 years, and they have been in default of their own contract for 10 years, where they failed to complete 3 things: property restoration, resident training, and cooperative conversion. This is a private dwelling, one of 7 that were slotted for sale by the New York City Housing Authority, and they defaulted in their ability to complete those 3 things I just mentioned, and have been since the 7th year after their default, in the 5th year of the contract. So it was a total of 15 years, but the first 5 years was that grace period for them to complete the performance. They defaulted after that 5th year. 7 years later, what occurred from 2000 to 2007, what occurred at 2007 was they had a principal agent that came on scene as a management company, and they have been orchestrating the shakedown, sending people notices to pay more rent, doing audits, unauthorized of course, because your audit period for those that were living in one of the 7 buildings were slotted for the first 5 years. And this terminology, what anyone listening, if they've ever confronted anyone with terminology that even is in the contract and they still don't address it, that's also part of the scheme. They will never answer you because that's the agreement. If they answer you to that, then they're in agreement. So they understand. They stand under what you just said. So every time I've ever said, shown, I've even included Fair Debt Collection Practices Act when they come to show you some claim that they don't sign, that they just printed out on fanciness with, you know, a whole bunch of nice numbers and a whole bunch of nice fonts and things, and they don't sign. Or they put a person's name and that's no signature, it's just the name. Then they will not validate that. They will evade it. They'll try to make you believe that the validation is not necessary. Even when you show them a federal code that they themselves, as officers of these corporations, are to obey. So it's been 3 years. 3 years. The most aggressive action has occurred within the last year. And the actual notice of eviction to get me out, that's been on the page for 6 months. So I've won my battle. I just haven't finished it out for those listening. And that's the key. You must follow through on your processes with your notary. Make sure that when you are sending things and it's in that stage of protest that you're using the notary is using his address and sending it for you. So, I mean, it's some people, you could help yourself along with your notary if you want. You could fill out all the receipts using his address for him and just making sure you have his consent first. And you can have him do it from that point to save him some time, or her, and take it from that course as well, too. So I want to thank everyone for having me on, and thank all the listeners. Everyone, you know, good luck in all of your endeavors. And I hope to speak to everyone again soon.
Okay. That's great. Woo. There's a monkey in the background hammering on his typewriter. It's all quiet. Super quiet.
Man, I walk away for 5 minutes and I come back and all I can hear is clackety clackety clack clack clackety 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 clack clack clackety clackety clackety. It's like the attack of the wayward keyboards there.
Yeah.
So much fun. So, yeah, glad we could help Evan. Glad we could do some things for him and take care of some stuff. I wanted to bring up something because I took a phone call here quickly while we were in the middle of a couple things. I was called by a debt collection agency in reference to the notice that I sent out over a week ago now about a supposed medical bill. And I spoke to the gentleman on the phone and he told me I had this outstanding debt that I had to pay. And they first asked if this is Donald Perry. I said, well, I'm commonly known as Don, and my family name is Perry. Can I help you? Well, is your birth date blah, 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 blah. I said, well, it's hearsay, but I have been told that I was born on such and such a date. Sure. What can I help you with? Well, you've got this outstanding balance, etc., 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 and you need to pay that. I said, do I have a contract with you? He goes, what? I said, do I have a contract with you? He goes, no, we have a contract with so-and-so. I said, well, then why aren't you sending them the bill? He goes, that's not how it works. I said, well, why don't you tell me how it works then? Well, you owe us money. I said, well, can you send me a bill? He said, well, we're not a billing agent. We're not a billing company. I said, well, if you can't send me a bill, there's no evidence of a contract between us. We sent you a letter, and you had an obligation to respond to that letter. I said, how did I have an obligation to respond to that letter if we don't have a contract? He says, I don't understand. I said, according to the UCC, the only way to create any kind of an obligation is if there's an existence of a contract between the two parties. If there's no existence of a contract, I have no obligation, right? And his response was, well, I take it you just aren't going to pay this bill. I said, you haven't sent me a bill.
Yeah.
He goes, well, I'll just let the client know, and hung up on me. Do they not teach people in these positions where exactly their jurisdiction sits at? Or do they teach it to them so they can pretend they don't know?
Well, what they do is they rely on everybody else's ignorance, Don. And so, you know, most people wouldn't try and dispute it, you see, so they get away with it. Unfortunately, this company, this collection agency, have already paid that bill. They're not going to send a letter to the party who handed that bill over to them for collection, because the party who handed that bill over was paid by the collection agent when it was handed over.
Yeah.
So now all they're trying to do is get the money back for their outlay, but they didn't have a contract with you. So they have a contract with the other geezers. Sorry, not with me.
Oh yeah, you might not be aware of this. You know the World Cup obviously is in Africa, because I did read a little article on it. You know they got these like vuvuzela horns. Apparently they're making such a noise that nobody can actually concentrate on the game, and it's causing all sorts of ruckus. It's quite funny. It's basically breaking distressing everybody, and they're trying to figure out how to turn the sound down on the horns in the background. So
Spain got beaten. Spain got beaten by Switzerland 1-0.
I've got world news, FIFA World Cup. Oh, the Euro news, that's it. Yeah, I don't think they have their own news channel. Everyone on TV, that's about it. Love it or hate it, the traditional South African trumpet, the vuvuzela, is causing a rumpus in more ways than one. Players and broadcasters at the World Cup have complained about the noise, so much so the tournament's organisers say he'll consider banning it if complaints gather pace. But that hasn't gone down well with fans. They want to ban them? Why? This is this African World Cup and it belongs to us! We must shout the vuvuzela. Why not? You must blow and blow and blow to the end of the World Cup, said one football supporter. Yeah, what you do in your own time is business. Just make sure you charge this rate.
Well, so they all want a blowjob, do they?
Yeah. You said you were slow. Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Sorry about that, gentlemen. I shouldn't fall so easily into the vernacular.
Although several top footballers have said the sound is so loud they cannot hear their managers on the sidelines. Most of them see the vuvuzela as an integral part of the South African experience. For sure.
Can I take a 150 decibel klaxon horn with me? Because that's my crowd cheering method. Let me just blow everybody's eardrums.
They say whatever one thinks about it, trying to stop the horns is likely to be impossible. Easiest to buy some earplugs or turn the sound down on the telly.
Just let's just stop the rain from falling, and defy gravity.
I think it is a protest by the horn players, and it's quite a clever one, really. Because they can't actually do anything because they say it's traditional. Traditional World Cup in Africa since when?
Yeah,
really.
This is the first World Cup, right? In
Africa, yeah. Yeah, that's it. Oh, no, we always play at the World Cup. Oh, right. Okay.
You mean all those televised, all those non-televised matches? Okay.
Yeah. See, the footballers saying they can't hear instructions from their managers from the sidelines, so that's interfering in the game, which is also probably quite clever.
Watching the U.S.-England game, parts of it this past weekend.
Yeah.
All you could hear was, I was like, where the hell is that huge mosquito in my house?
Yeah, I've heard a sample of it, and it's really loud.
I mean, even reporters who are reporting from South Africa, you know, a mile and a half away from the stadium, all you can still hear is that sound. And
Yeah.
like,
Well, I think that the reporters now are,
in there or something.
yeah. Well, the reporters now have decided they'll put the TV camera in the stadium, and then they'll sit over the border in Namibia and commentate from there.
And just blend everything together. Sure.
Yeah. I got an email about it. It's comparing it to a bit of like the Book of Revelations, but it's like whatever. You know the one about we will be changed to the blinking of an eye. I'll just read quote from it anyway. 1 Corinthians 15, 51, 52. Behold, I tell you a mystery. We shall not all sleep, but we shall all be changed. 52 in a moment, in the twinkling of an eye, at the last trumpet. For the trumpet will sound, and the dead will be raised incorruptible, and we shall all be changed. We should be changed, sorry. Yeah, so it's like, whatever. She's just been waiting for that one, put that one in somewhere, haven't you? I don't think there's anything massively apocalyptic by the fact that they're playing these voodoo zellers, but, you know, people can read into it what they want, I suppose.
Well, they could
I think they're just doing it.
They could all march around the outside and bring the walls of Jericho down, couldn't they?
They could do, yeah, because it was supposedly the trumpets that brought down the walls of Jericho, wasn't it?
Yeah. So there you go. Life is very strange.
Yeah.
See, I thought the Revelations reference that you were going to make was the one of the gigantic locust-type beings with the face of a man, the tail of a sword,
Yeah.
body of a lion that sounded like 1,000 troops marching. I don't know what.
That'd only be the case if they were like blowing bong like trumpets, like combine the trumpet with the bong, and then everybody got stoned, and then they'd see that those Lucas things.
I think that description of Mr. Rothschild's will be objected to, you know.
Altogether quite possible. Here's one for you guys. We Are Change LA organizer faces terrorist charge.
Yeah.
We Are Change LA's lead organizer Bruno Bruhweiler is being targeted as a Bruhweiler.
Okay.
Being targeted as a terrorist threat.
Tell he's a terrorist from the name.
Yeah, right?
Yeah, well, for terrorism, one should read opposition, because that's what they really mean. And they read opposition as terrorism. We read terrorism as opposition. So we sort of, you know, it's an impasse here, aren't we?
Well, it's like the term eco-terrorist when they use that to refer to members of PETA, as opposed to the eco-terrorists such as those trying to push a climate change bill. So We Are Change LA's leader, it all began when Bruno was sitting in the audience at a civil hearing for another We Are Change LA member. The judge literally did not like Bruno's involuntary facial expressions and ordered him out of the courtroom, even if he handed in a bill first. He was detained in the hall after asking to see the officer's ID cards before he left the building. Bravo. They are required, according to their own manual, to provide ID upon request, but apparently don't like to be asked for it. When the supervising officer ordered Bruno to turn around and put his hands behind his back, Bruno instantly turned around and put his hands behind his back with absolutely no resistance. At first, he was supposedly being detained for trespassing. How could you be trespassing in a public court? But of course, you can't trespass on public property, so then they dropped trespassing and told him he was being detained for a public disturbance. About an hour later, when the supervisor actually placed Bruno under arrest, the original charge was changed to misdemeanor contempt of court. None of the witnesses present heard the judge mention anything about contempt when asking him to leave. 2 felony resisting arrest charges were then tacked on, which means Bruno was charged with physically resisting the officers twice, though no witnesses ever saw him resist. The arresting supervising officer claimed that Bruno threatened to assassinate him. Then the same officer ordered an underling to back up his claim as a false witness and charged Bruno with making a terrorist threat. Man, we gotta get this guy on the show. We gotta tell him what he can do when he's in court. Killer. We're talking about a man who raises money for 9/11 first responders and the Feel Good Foundation. He's also a member of SoCal Oath Keepers and the initiator of Talk to a Cop Wednesdays, an outreach effort to befriend and educate law enforcement throughout Los Angeles.
The law is wonderful, isn't it?
Good God.
It's a freaking joke. And then they wonder why we have such contempt for police and courts and judges and what have you.
I'm going to hold you in contempt of court. Well, I'm going to hold you in contempt of free rights.
No, you if he's going to hold you in contempt of court, judge, you failed to arrest that contempt. That's a failure in your fiduciary duty to uphold the law. Boom, tit for tat. And by the way, we're now placing you on your full commercial liability, and if you don't prove this case of contempt, you're going to jail, and you're going to pay me a lot of money. Yeah.
Well, sure, exactly. I mean, but what a great opportunity to try and get this guy on our show and talk about what his actual real remedy was in the situation, what he could have done and what he should have done.
Well, I mean, is there any CCTV footage inside the court? Is there any, because American courts do have CCTV footage. Yeah. And now they're going to have to doctor the court record to claim that the judge found him in contempt.
Yeah, it doesn't mention anything in the article about there being...
Well, you see, he can claim, because he's now the defendant and the defense, he can do discovery and claim the complete record of that case. The whole and complete certified record of that case. And if he goes through it and there's no record of the judge finding him in contempt, then he can just bat that back to the cops and say this is a fraud. And this fraud is predicated, it's masquerading as a complaint, a fraud masquerading as a complaint again, and doesn't invoke the jurisdiction of any court. Sorry, stop lying, and then we might have something to talk about.
Now, this is even a better reason to have him on, because the article ends out with friends of Bruno and the We Are Change family are literally spending their life savings fighting in Bruno's defense.
Well, if they hire a lawyer, they're not going to get remedy. So, anybody in the US who can get hold of his telephone number, call him and get him to call into the show on Skype.
I'm going to spend my afternoon trying to get a hold of some of these people and getting some things taken care of, because there's this is an obvious fraud. This is an obvious violation of human dignity. And there's no way that they can make these things stick. But if they're going out and hiring a lawyer and mounting a legal defense of this, all they're doing is, shooting themselves in the foot and winding up in the exact same position they were in before they walked into court.
Yep. All they're doing is contracting with the court. Because they've hired this lawyer now and contracted with the court, they're saying there's something to defend against. They're validating the original complaint.
Playing along with the game.
Playing along with the game, yeah.
I'm going to go ahead and start searching around for them, because I think this is an excellent opportunity to start doing an outreach element to these other groups out there that are fighting the same big, huge, nasty beast that we're all fighting, and show them where their remedies actually lie. So this is my new goal for the next couple of days, is trying to secure somebody from that camp that is willing to speak to us on air.
I guarantee you see, that if they hire a lawyer, the lawyer will create controversy in the court, and they'll lose.
Sure.
Yeah. What we have to do is avoid legal controversy. You avoid legal controversy, and all you're doing is asking questions, getting their replies, making sure it goes on the record, then ask another question, make sure that goes on the record, and their reply goes on the record, then go back to the first and say, look, this is what you said here, and down here you said something different. You know, please explain so I can understand. If I can't understand, this to me looks like a fraud. So don't create the controversy. Put them on their oaths. That's the first thing he wants to do when he goes into a court, is make the judge or if there's what have you, put the policeman on his oath as well. Not only on his oath as a peace officer, and just remind him then that you're on two oaths now. You're on your oath as a peace officer, and you're on your oath. Get him to read his oath into the court record, the cop who's making the complaint. Get him to read his oath in. Ask him a few questions. Get him to read his bond number in. Same with the judge. And if they make one mistake, right, you don't object. You protest it. Yeah. All right. And then you can put what your version is, i.e., you allege what the truth is. Right. And then you put him on his fiduciary duty to uphold his oath and the common law as he swore to. So come on, you either break your oath or you're going to tell me the truth. Tell the court the truth. And then you make a complaint if he doesn't tell the truth. You know, you've put him on full commercial liability and he's broken his fiduciary duty. Point that out.
Well, this is my goal now: is to get somebody from there on the air with us to discuss this issue, to discuss because I think if we can affect how they're doing things, then all we do is just to expand that information into a larger group of people. If
he's doing,
they realize they have suddenly come to the realization that they can defend themselves against these types of charges and these types of claims without having to come out of pocket for thousands.
If you manage to get hold of them, Don.
Yeah.
Point out in hiring lawyers and doing this and that and the other, that he is doing what is expected of him. Don't do what is expected of him. Do something entirely different and more effective.
Right. They charged him with these things not because they're trying to bring him down, but so that they can push him into a position where he has to hire a lawyer, and they take away all of his financial ability to fund things and crush him and shut him down. I mean, that's part of their whole game plan, isn't it? Ultimately, is to reduce our fiscal ability to work through the court system the way that they want us to.
Yeah, they're making it so expensive that you can't properly defend yourself. But you can, of course, if you use your noddle. If you use that,
there's nothing that states that you have to have a lawyer to represent you in court.
Well, you see, the lawyer has
to represent you in court that isn't a lawyer.
Yeah, well, the lawyer has legal immunity, so he can lie on your behalf, right? And if he lies on your behalf, he's not the one that's going to get slapped with contempt of court and go to prison. You are. Mm-hmm. So he's telling the court the lies, but you're the one that's going to suffer for it.
He's being the liar instead of the lawyer.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
So, yeah, you need to get it. Tell him that he's doing exactly what the court expects, and he's just dropping into their little trap and net.
Just doing exactly what they want him to.
Well, everybody does, you see, so the court is used to it, so they know how to deal with it. It's like they do this by rote. You know, they don't have to remember anything; they just follow these different steps. And if you don't do as expected, it throws a spanner in their works. Because, ouch, we can't follow this step now, and this step is due. What do we do now? Oh shit, what do we do now? Let's get some legal experts. Oh, but they've all been following the same steps. Oh shit, what do we do now?
So much. So I'm gonna spend some time in the next couple days trying to get a hold of people within that camp and place this into an understanding for them that they can actually stand under,
Yeah.
as opposed to the one that's being enforced upon them.
Yeah, you stand on the piece of paper because once you're in this if you like, this sovereign citizen freeman mode, you can choose and pick and choose. Oh, I like that statute because it benefits me, but I don't like that one because it don't. So you use that statute, but then jump back out of it again and say, "Hang on, I'm a freeman. You know, this is the common law, and that thing's over there says." Well, and so you assume that piece of statute is the common law, and the rest of it isn't. You know, hey, man, there's so many ways to treat this shit.
Right. Well, the only laws that have force over me are the ones that I consent to.
Yes.
But my consent to one particular law does not imply my consent to all of them.
Precisely, that's what I say. You can pick and choose which ones you want, which ones you don't.
Right.
And you choose the ones that's beneficial to you, and reject all the ones that aren't. You stack the deck. You stack the deck in your favour.
I removed everything that gets dealt to me except aces and jokers.
And while you're stacking the deck in your favour, you might tell them that if they conduct this case the right way, by asking questions and getting responses, by protesting inaccuracies and making, you know, and correcting those accuracies with sworn statements, then what you're doing is you're setting this up on the record in the court. Make sure they keep reading the record back to you, so you make sure it's what is there is there. What you say is there, what their response is there. So it's in the court record. Then you can immediately go to an appeal before he executes the sentence at the end of it. If I am going to be found guilty, I wish to, you know, please stay that execution of that sentence until I've filed my appeal. You know, you should stop that, arrest that until I file my appeal. So then you're not restricted. You've not been found guilty yet of anything. You know, this legalese term of guilt, which basically means dishonour.
Right.
You've been found in dishonour. You stay that, so that means you're still innocent, and you've got the full privileges of an innocent man to investigate the case that you're doing, and you can make allegations in this appeal as an innocent man because you've not been found guilty of anything. It's little tactics and the agenda to follow. I mean, they may not stay that the execution of that, but then when you go to the next court, they're going to ask you to plea, and then you're going to say, no, I can't plea. I'm innocent, and if I plea, then I lose all my pre-plea rights, and it's my right to bring that previous case, court record in that previous case, and enter it into this court record and get it read to the court. Then I can point out all the errors, mistakes, and falsehoods and what have you. You know, in my defence. You probably get if you're in
talking with echo's fun, isn't it?
Yeah. If you're in Jersey, you'll probably get tased, but that's neither in there. Wear a chainmail suit, so when they try and tase you, it just shorts it out.
Yeah. Bulletproof vest. I've got to wear it because I don't feel safe at court. That's why.
You know, I've thought about
that. The guy gets flying across the room. Go on with the taser.
Get these electronic ignition systems. Just, you know, whenever you go out, have a little backpack on, and little thin foil running down all the sleeves and on the outside, you know, like a high-vis jacket, what have you. With all these little metal bits, and if the cops get hold of you, just switch it on. 50,000 volts. Bam, bam, bam. Oops. Well, yeah, I told you not to touch me. Your fault.
Yeah, do a Johnny Rambo on them. Don't touch me. Don't touch me.
Don't touch me, you might get hurt.
Yeah. Then later on he goes, I
For
told you not to touch
on
me.
the record, don't touch me or you might get hurt.
Yeah.
I am wearing protective clothing, high-vis clothing.
So that's my goal right now, is to try and get a hold of them and get them involved in understanding, or get them involved so that they know what their real remedy is without having to raise $18,000, $20,000, $30,000 to mount some kind of legal defense by employing somebody who is nothing more than a member of the same society that is accusing him in the first place.
Well, I'm hoping that they had a lot of We Are Change members sitting down in that court alongside him, all his friends, so they can call them as witnesses in the case.
Hopefully.
And they can attest under oath.
Well, he was there in support of somebody else's. Court.
Yeah, that's not a problem.
So you would imagine, if nothing else, that person can sit as a witness.
Yeah, it don't matter if he's still a witness. They might take him to be a hostile witness, but he's still a witness.
You can treat him as a hostile witness. That's fine. It doesn't change anything. So, I'll be right back. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah. And by the way, we're going to subpoena all that court record. So he needs to get to a notary and get the notary to subpoena the record.
What does subpoena mean?
It means that they have to deliver it to you.
Oh, okay.
It's a legal means of obtaining information. But without that, you just a request for the information, you ain't gonna get it because they'll hide it. But because it's vital to your case, they're not gonna do it.
Yeah. I've got a subpoena, pronounced subpoena.
Yeah.
Is a writ issued by a government agency, most often a court, that has authority to compel testimony by a witness or production of evidence under a penalty for failure.
That's correct.
Yeah.
That's correct, you see. So you go to your notary public, he's an officer of the court, he goes, stamp on the subpoena, give me the court record. Thank you.
They can't say no.
There's
They can't say no, because if they do, then you put them on full commercial liability and you claim an enormous sum off them again.
Yeah. So there are two common types of subpoena. Subpoena ad testificandum orders a person to testify before the ordering authority or face punishment. Subpoena duces tecum, D-U-C-E-S, T-E-C-U-M, orders a person to bring physical evidence before the ordering authority or face punishment.
Yeah, to be honest, you see, if you do that, you subpoena it and they fail, then not only have they failed in their duty, their lawful and legal duty to supply that information, so they're now in contempt of court, right? So they're going to face a lawful legal penalty and a financial penalty because you put them on full commercial liability. So they're facing two, like fine and imprisonment, like they do to us.
Turning the tables, really.
Yeah, like I've said before, what's good for the goose is good for the gander, and the gander will cook the goose.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I know something that'd be good for my goose that I wouldn't want anywhere near my gander.
We're not falling into that vernacular again, are we?
Yeah, I can't work that one out.
Well, we are coming near the end of the show. If we don't fall into that,
Is Evstratius around? Is he there with his finger on the blue button?
I'm here.
I don't think so.
Look up.
I'm here.
Okay. I'm just staring at my
face. He was still here.
Yes, I mean, if you can get hold of these guys that We Are Change, we can flash loads of information. We can set it up, because it's going to be a few weeks before he goes to court, and we get all these notices and everything done, and what have you, before he gets to the court. We're going to try and bat this. We're going to try and bat this thing away. You know, first we need to know was there video of that in the court, an audio-video record? If not, we're going to subpoena the actual written record by the stenographer, and we're going to do both. You know, get both of these things from the court on subpoena, both the audio-video record and the written record. Then we're going to compare the two, and if there's any mistakes, wow, we can screw them. If there's any difference between those two records, then we're going to be alleging fraud and falsehood. And he won't even need to go to court. Well, just because this complaint is predicated on a falsehood masquerading as a complaint. You know, sorry, doesn't invoke the jurisdiction of the court.
Right. Well, my first step is getting a hold of these people and getting them to understand, or to be willing to. I'm sorry, I throw that word around far too often, and I shouldn't. Getting them to be willing to listen to and entertain the idea that they have a remedy that isn't going to necessitate contacting a lawyer and spending thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars on it.
Yeah, they're going to spend thousands of dollars on it, and they're probably and almost certainly not going to win, because he won't raise the correct. He won't challenge the law.
Well, no, of course not. He's letting the lawyer just. But it's going to wind up turning into a plea bargain. He's going to accept a lesser charge for something that he knows he is innocent of.
Yep.
But so the lawyer is going to say, here's what you should do.
So here's the first thing he does is when he goes to the court, how do you plead? I'm not here to plead. I'm here to state my innocence. There you go. That's right. You always do that. I'm here to state my innocence. He's go, oh, I've got to put that down as not guilty. Well, I don't consent to that. I am here to state my innocence.
Well, I'm still entering a plea as not guilty. All right, let the record show that the judge has decided and agreed upon representing me by entering a plea on my behalf, which makes him my representative, and I am putting him on full. I'm claiming him as my fiduciary counsel.
Yeah, putting him on notice. You're noticing him as my fiduciary counsel.
Oops.
Excuse me?
Yeah, thank you very much.
He'll probably get tasered at that point, but...
Tasered in a courtroom while you're acting on behalf of your own defense. I'm not sure they can do that. Not even legally, I don't think they can do that.
Well, he can then allege torture.
Yeah.
Ooh.
And you have witnesses as well if anybody wants to.
We could have somebody in there with one of those tiny little cameras videotaping the whole thing.
Well, it just needs somebody to stand there in court with them, doesn't it?
Right. You get enough witnesses packed in there, they can't do a damn thing. What are you going to do, tase everyone? It takes a long time to recharge that thing.
What he needs to do is like get a vicar, his pastor. There's a person of standing in the community. Get 3 people of standing in the community who are willing to go along with him into the court. And they can then be 3 people of standing as witness to that event.
Yeah. And they just need to say, I saw that.
All they need to do, is make affidavit. 3 witnesses of standing make affidavit. And the court's in real trouble.
So 3 people of standing... perhaps that's something we should talk about tomorrow, as how to find them, who they might be, and the definitions of such. Because we have reached the 4 o'clock hour here, folks.
Just quickly then, instead of as an alternative to a notary, you can actually use 3 people of standing like this to notarize your notices and actually witness them and because they are people of standing with something to lose, you know, their reputations, then that's as powerful as a notary. But that's just another thing. We'll get into that later.
Right. So we'll talk about that potentially tomorrow or at another later date as to how to get your 3 people of standing, and et cetera, et cetera. So I just want to thank our listeners. You've been listening to American Freeman on the World Freeman Radio Network. I have been your host, Don of the Family Perry. With me has been our Brit, our resident Brit, Maggot. Say
Goodbye
to the folks, Maggot.
Goodbye, people.
No, he inhabits the United Kingdom at the moment. That's he doesn't reside, he doesn't live. he inhabits, and it's his habitat. His current habitat.
Where would we be without the indestructible Caribbean critic? Always reminding us of our language choices. Thank you for being with us today.
Fine, young man.
We have also had with us our responsible party, Estratios of the Family Morades.
Oh, great.
I'm going to sign off now. You can always find our archives of our show at tinyurl.com/WFS podcast. Do check out more information at worldfreemansociety.org. And I'm done and out of here. Anyone else?
Okay.
That's it. I'm done.
Hi, I'm Stratius Constantine Reyes. I'm going to take us off here. Thanks a lot.